It is worth opening the biography of the great people of the Lanoa mainland on page 877. There is one whom rumor has bestowed with numerous epithets and has been awarded with love and respect. The star of the empire is exactly what it says. It is an unprecedented spiritual magician, an unsurpassed strategist, and the greatest guarantee of all things. The girl is the youngest daughter of the Artina family. Her name is Evelia Artina. Not only the rulers of the empire, the higher demons and the rest bowed their heads, the spirits are also included in the number. All the roads along which the girl passed were strewn with flowers, and the traces that she left behind were her achievements. The girl just wanted ordinary things. She always expressed her values in love, which would become a little happiness. They say that she had a very strong connection with the person who was next to her for a long time. It is not clear how this happened, but the beauty died. She was returning home as usual, but she noticed how a little girl entered the water in order to save her. She had to rush straight there. The baby lost her parents early after their death. The beauty was taken away by her relatives. It was difficult to call it life since it was more like survival. There were frequent beatings, and hiding from creditors became a sad routine. Studying was the only hope. Even if life looked more like a scorched desert than a flower alley, the lady still hoped that she would be able to move forward. Apparently she was unlucky, so we can only wish for the best. The eyes open sharply until the heroine understands where exactly she is. It seems that the afterlife is so beautiful. Perhaps the hit is due to the fact that the girl has not paid her debts. A strange voice behind her says that this is not hell. The man with beautiful hair around whom the power is concentrated repeats his proposal again. It's impossible to say for sure, but for some reason the brunette is sure that this is no ordinary person standing in front of her. An unusual girl stands in front of him because, oddly enough, the guy's energy does not affect her at all. The girl cannot be called smart because I have never met a person who, in an attempt to save a spirit, would throw himself into the water and drown himself. That little girl on the water is the spirit of the times he accidentally slipped into an open passage between the worlds and ended up in the human dimension. By chance, a beauty passing by noticed the baby and, out of ignorance, decided to rush into the water to save her. Let death look completely unfair and insignificant, but it is not so. There is nothing in that world that she would love or regret. Spirits cannot live where no one believes in them. Once in a new dimension, inevitable death awaits them. The girl, in an attempt to save the child, threw herself into the water without hesitation and found faith, thanks to which the little one was able to avoid a terrible fate. The young man again thanks for the rescue. He is truly sorry that in the process the newcomer lost her own life. The brunette rubs the back of her head awkwardly. She didn't have much to lose anyway, so it wouldn't be a problem. The creatures are the kind who always give back as much as they received, and since the girl lost her life, it means that the payment will also be a new life. Now the girl understands that she will be given a chance to be reborn. In return, the beauty will forget about her previous life forever. In all this time, the lady has never asked God for anything, but there is something for which she is ready to beg on her knees. She wants to be surrounded by the love of her family. If this is impossible, then the girl would prefer not to be born at all. However, it seems that she will no longer have to suffer. The man puts his hand on his head, saying that there is no point in asking for this because the heroine is the one who deserves love. The man sitting on the throne is called Hugo von Artina, and he is a famous duke. A boy named Cedric, and also the second son of the family, enters the room. Everything will be fine with the mother, so the kid asks to go get some rest. The guy shakes his head negatively. In a sense, Dad can also be understood because more than 7 hours have already passed since the mother entered the maternity room, and we still cannot hear that same child's cry. Everything will be fine with the child and the girl, so there is no need to worry. Crying is heard from the room, which spreads like thunder from a clear sky. Alicia Artina lies on the bed completely exhausted. She calls her husband by name while looking at him with a happy look. The guy bends down to kiss the woman on the forehead and soften the loss of strength and pain that she experienced. They hand over the newborn as Hugo wanted. They had a daughter with blonde hair exactly the same as his. Addressing the child, the man promises that if she ever faces any difficulties, they will always be with her to support her. If there are difficulties along the way, the young man will strew him with flowers, even if this means cutting off all the flowers in the world. The same spirit that the main character met smiles and watches the picture as it develops. They will definitely see each other at least once again. The baby suddenly begins to cry. It is extremely boring to be in this room, and she can no longer play staring contest with these rattles above her head. The maids get scared almost instantly. Perhaps the mistress is in pain, that's why she behaves this way. The endless crying continues. We can only assume that the child wants to go to bed. It's already lunchtime, so this seems quite logical. The blonde in her head complains about such the same routine all day long. She does nothing but eat, sleep, and go to the potty. As the man said in the New World, the memories of the past life fade more and more every day. The words that the body and mind are inseparable, not groundless a little more. And the virgin will completely forget the past, becoming an ordinary child every day is the same. But this seems for the better. Cedric visits her room too often. Asking about the baby, Vivian says that the lady decided to have a snack and is now going to take a nap. The boy asks to keep the fact that he came a secret, he should be at fencing lessons. But he really wanted to look at Eva. At least once you need to seem cute. The young man does not believe that his sister just smiled at him. There is no one in the world cuter than Artina. The baby hears something on the street, but doesn't quite understand, so she has to listen more than ever. Cedric runs to the window, and throwing open the curtain, smiles. Their brother has finally returned to the estate. The girl found out a little from the maids about the family in which she lives. Vivian noticed that the owner and his sons wore thread bracelets that were visible from afar. They say that the head did not spar with the knights for 9 months because he was afraid that it might break. If before giving birth without taking it off, you wear a bracelet made of a very thin thread and make sure that it does not break, then you will definitely have a daughter. The man waited impatiently, so the expected happened. The eldest son Arkan went north to act as a successor. The maids are glad that the lady has such a strong older brother. The 2 young gentlemen have already become the envy of many young ladies of the capital. At such a young age, they pay attention to discipline everywhere you look. Just perfect candidates to be the next duke. The girl barely managed to be born into a cozy and calm family, but now apparently, everyone will be pressured to fulfill their duties. Of course, there was no hope for a path in flowers. But the lady would like to give up right away from a life full of all sorts of responsibilities. Arkan gets out of the carriage and bows his head, greeting his parents' happiness that their son returned safe and sound. The man clarifies the news as he hopes that nothing unusual happened during this time. The father is about to say something, and this is frightening because perhaps the duchy was attacked again. The blonde does not understand how Eva can be so wonderful. The baby is charming and very similar to her mother. The duke talks about all the delights of the baby, but the youngest son does not understand what is happening. Cedric is distracted from the conversations by calling his brother. He comes down the steps with a package in his hands. The 2 exchange a few phrases about how each is doing, but then attention turns to what is in their hands. Her facial expression doesn't change, so Eva quickly realizes that she needs to use her deadly move. The girl reaches out her hand with cute eyes, but even this didn't work. It seems the man needs to report to his father, so the couple will wait for now. If you think about it, the report is not such an important matter, so the young man quickly changes his mind. The family sits down at the table. It seems that the little family is not at all like yesterday. The daughter is even more charming than usual. The duke asks his beloved to hand the child into his arms, although she does not understand why. Cedric reminds his father about state affairs and asks him to hold his sister, but Arkan steps forward as someone who also wants to do this. The blonde is not going to eat what was offered, so she thinks about who she would quickly give it to in order to get rid of it. Eva holds out a piece, and a squabble immediately begins over who the young lady wanted to treat. The girl accepts berries from her mother, hoping that her future life will be as calm as it is now without any problems. The father picks up the baby in his arms, and she immediately gets scared, as she is anticipating something. They are going to the imperial palace. The king is Carlisle Regulus Arcadia. The Duke of Artina has arrived, so the man invites him in. The guy almost immediately greets His Highness, who definitely deserves recognition. And today, it seems as if the whole world is focused on the hero, and this is not surprising because he is too dazzling. There are only 2 people in the room. Formalities can be discarded. The emperor offers to sit on a chair. On the table, there is a basket with citrines brought from the kingdom of Zeos. The man actually has one request. It's strange that a man who knows practically no worries can ask for anything. Artina asks to lend him the banquet hall of the imperial palace for at least one evening for the event. Regulus freezes in surprise, but then asks why this is necessary. the man again repeats his modest request. Everyone should be aware that the hall has been used for centuries only for events related to the founding of the empire or the birthday of the emperor. Every sensible aristocrat knows on the blood of which family the well-being of the empire rests, so no one will object. The young man is amused by the fact that such a straightforward person decided to break all traditions. Perhaps this is because Arkin got engaged to someone. The wedding could have been held on his estate, but there is another reason. In a month, it will be Ava's birthday. The emperor correctly understood what was required of him, but still began to laugh, asking if his friend had gone crazy. The man ignores the laughter, saying that he wants to agree on going out in advance too. Without listening to his friend, the hero does not stop and then takes the fruit basket. His daughter will like the gifts. Evelia sleeps in the crib but feels safe and calm. The spirit will wait until the girl calls him. Not understanding who is nearby, the child simply turns over to the other side, and his brother appears nearby and asks if his sister has woken up. It seems that I had a dream because in fact it was not that man nearby but only Arkan. An unusual day has come because it is the beauty's birthday. The young man got up early to come, especially for congratulations. The baby completely forgot about her day. The maids dressed her in a wonderful dress, hoping that the child would like everything. It seems that Vivian tried her best this time because everything fits together perfectly, which is breathtaking. Still, you need to put more effort into fencing. The words become dull because the Duke falls silent when they enter the room. The girl is simply beautiful today. Dad hopes that he was the first to say his congratulations. Turning away, the girl shakes her head. It doesn't matter because in the end the man prepared the best gift. The family goes to the Imperial Palace, which will be a great option after all. I want to scream because I don't want to go. All that was in my dreams was a quiet and calm life that will remain like this forever. The family could no longer be stopped. The father ordered a new carriage and worked on magic to repel insects and eliminate shaking. The aristocrats think that the young lady is charming because she takes after the Duchess. She is like a ray of sunshine with a smile. Some are unhappy that such an event was organized for the child, a place where the baby will sit as if for His Majesty himself. People want to continue the discussion further, but they are stopped by the fact that a servant comes out and announces the arrival of the Duke. The baby with blonde hair is shown first and remains in her father's arms. His Highness the Emperor has finally arrived. The man asks everyone to stop clapping. He just came in passing to congratulate the daughter of his only friend. The blonde finds himself next to the young man, but he doesn't say anything. He is the organizer, so he has to say something. To begin with, I would like to thank the Sun of the Empire which illuminated the holiday with its presence. I sincerely express my gratitude to all those who came to congratulate Elia on her birthday today. The daughter will light the road, along which the family starting from Hugo will go. The king appears behind the beauty. If anyone ever gets in the way of the family, they will be in huge trouble. One of the aristocrats from the crowd shouts that it is an honor to be present at the festival. While he was in the Harvant Empire, he managed to get a wonderful bracelet. The thing is incomparable to anything that came before. The tiara also contains magical power that has not been seen before. The hero of the occasion is truly wonderful. In appearance, she is very similar to his wife, as if they were two drops of water. The man holds back and instead says a muted, "Thank you." He believes he is addressing Count Czerny. The discussion of the Duchess's daughter continues. One of Eva's brothers asks not to raise an obvious topic. The baby does not understand anything, even more so when Lucius de Font comes forward. The Marquis congratulates the child and is glad that they have finally met. The girl doesn't like the man at all. Then they notice the beauty of Artina's eyes, which looks evil. It would have been worth personally visiting the Duke's estate earlier, so an apology is offered. It's good that the time was not wasted, because the family has not been receiving guests lately. There was a rumor that the Marquis of Cassis visited the man, but apparently it is better not to trust the capital's rumors. It was about uninvited visitors. The atmosphere begins to thicken, so the brother takes Ava to go for a short walk. The father behaves strangely, and to explain the situation, the blonde starts from the very beginning. A year ago, the Empress died. The current crown prince is the next contender for the throne, and everyone knows about it. A year ago, after Queen Lawana died of an illness, all power passed into the hands of the populist of Emperor Benake, and in the highest circles, there were many who wanted to place Edwin on the throne, bypassing the direct heir. The boy still retains his right to the throne, but the fact that he has no proper maternal relatives could be fatal to him. The Marquis is using the situation to get closer to the prince. If he becomes ruler, Defont may find himself in favor, and it is possible that he will take the place of the Duke. The girl begins to understand why Hugo has a tense relationship with Lucius, who is hated. The vision suddenly becomes blurred. Although vision does not deteriorate at such an early age, the child does not understand what is happening. Someone's voice is heard in front of her as a man with the mark of the Lord, the only creature who has received the blessing of the Spirit. The little creature again says that the lady is the first person who understands the spirits, although they have not made a contract. Everyone appeared thanks to the ruler. Everyone was called to protect him, and he was the ruler of the waters of the whole world. I had to wait until the young creature matured enough to cope with the terms of the deal. From now on, the perfume would be protection for Artina. The baby smiles. It seems to her that she should protect them because they are still very small. Taking the beauty into her palms, the heroine promises that she will now protect them, and now they will become her new friends. The rumors did not lie, and the blonde turned out to be not an ordinary person. It would be enough if the girl just thought, since she did not know how to speak. On the side of the scales where the foundations of the world are located, the spirit wanders alone. He asks to become his companion. Water, as you know, is the basis of foundations. It is full of spirit and will become a sword and shield for a girl at the most necessary moments. There is a return to reality. There will be a lot of noise if someone finds out about the agreement with the spirits. It is better to keep everything secret. For some reason, the hall is suspiciously quiet. People look in surprise and even defeat at the girl who is perplexed. The baby would like to ask what came over everyone, but she would understand faster if she noticed the mark on her forehead. Spiritual magicians have a seal on their foreheads, which is distinguishable only by the characters themselves. A person's connection is imprinted in the most visible place. For about 10 minutes, the mark on the forehead lights up with a blinding flash of light, and this is perhaps the only moment when outsiders can see something. It is enough to study a little to understand the nature of the one with power. More is written in the publishing house of Charon, page 605. The girl begins to think that she did something wrong, so she gets the reaction she deserves. The brothers hug the child, who already has tears in his eyes. Cedric orders him to stop looking around. Not a single soul has the right to look at his sister so disrespectfully. People start screaming the baby is only 1 year old, but the seal is already there. There is no doubt that a contract has been concluded with the water spirit. The king smiles, but then sharply orders them to calm down. There is too much noise in the hall. It cannot be said with certainty that the pattern on the forehead of the duke's daughter is the mark of the one with whom she spoke. A child cannot enter into a contract. No event more significant than this has ever happened in the empire before. There is no doubt that the spirits are blessing the glorious empire, which will only prosper from now on. The ruler asks to hand over the princess into his arms. It seems that he is gradually starting to go crazy, and this is noticeable by his crazy look. The duke tries to come closer first. Everyone needs to calm down in order to continue to maintain a constructive conversation. The blonde shouts back, asking if he is calm. Now there are rumors all over the world that the empire has lost its patronage and spirit, and they are talking nonsense that past glory is a thing of the past. The emperor is the master of the baby's father, so one can quickly assume that he is literally the bread of the family. Food, no matter what you say, is the most important thing in this world. So Eva pulls the hands with which she grabs the man's clothes. The girl won't just let go of her bread. She smiles, trying to evoke as much sympathy as possible. The blonde lifts the princess into his arms, rejoicing that she has just recognized her father's friend just like that. The guy hopes that the little one will take care of the crown prince in the future. It's strange that such a thing can even be asked. After so many years of waiting, a spiritual magician has finally been born in the country. It is imperative to notify the inhabitants of the empire. Starting from the new day, a 3-day festival will be held in the capital in honor of the birth of a new spiritual magician. It seems that the festival is still going on because there are too many people on the streets who are not going to sleep. Even a child knows that the complete opposite of the spirit is a demon. Everything is connected with the defense of the country, and a significant event is still ongoing. The girl asks her husband what happened. It seems that the Marquis de Font did something again. In fact, the problem is different because the man does not care about it. The young man is worried whether they will be able to protect their Eva. His wife has also thought about this more than once. The child's abilities were revealed in front of all the nobility at the ball. Many will now try to get closer to the family. The daughter is not only charming but also has outstanding abilities. I want to understand what this means because Hugo does not explain. Knights should be assigned to the baby as guards. They shouldn't do anything strange to her daughter. No one in their right mind would dare threaten Avelia's safety. Despite this, putting people there doesn't seem like a bad idea. Most likely, you will have to call those types to the capital if necessary, which means the couple will do anything and everything in their power. The man says something to his brother-in-arms about the latest news. It seems that knights are being taken away from them to protect their mistress. Twain responds to the herald that he refused. There is absolutely no fun if there are no demons or runaways from the kingdom around. There is boredom in the capital. The only thing they say is that the girl looks like her mother. Alec looks at him with loving eyes. One of the knights offers to buy the lady a gift. They can all think about the idea together. Something green appears in your hands. If you dry it, you can use it as a wonderful decoration. It's no secret that even among the knights in the service of the king himself, they have no equal, the Knights of Artin. Instead of sitting quietly in the capital, enjoying all the benefits and riches, they personally went to fight the demons in the northern regions. It has been 2 years since the Duke drove the knights further north, since their mere presence could cause trouble to others. The favorite pastime of men is the destruction of everything that remains of the old kingdom. At their first meeting, the knights began to tease Hadel, asking if he had acquired a new girlfriend. About 10 years have passed since a man from an ordinary servant was made Artan's butler. It was not enough for everything to go down the drain because of thugs. For dinner, everyone offers their own options. Some like barbecue from a foal they saw nearby. Hadel asks in his head why the owner called these dogs. Eva's voice is heard asking what is happening. The girl asks who they are, and so the butler introduces them as knights from the north. Each of them freezes with an expression of tenderness on their faces. They took an oath of allegiance to the girl's father, and now serve under his command. Twain greets the lady because he will become her personal bodyguard. Others rush forward, offering their candidacy. One of them reminds him of what a master he is at reading fairy tales. Pointing his hand forward, one of them says that there is an orc's head there, pulling back his brother in arms. The knight asks not to say such a thing in front of Eva. The little girl holds out one of the berries from the basket in which she collected them, and then greets everyone who has arrived. Guys don't need anything else because the only thing they want is to meet the girl again and be close. The knights have already reported their return. They have done a great job, so the Duke praises them. A man was heard to squeal, and a girl appeared behind her repeating all the words. Asking to repeat it one more time, everyone completely forgot about Hugo, who stands behind smiling. He believes that such a cutie like Eva is simply a miracle. Only one person is required to act as a permanent bodyguard. The blonde does not need the whole company to follow her. A whole month has passed since their arrival in the duchy. The knights are training until the break, which Artina came to. The lady ended up at the training ground, but no one even invited her here. You need to ask what happened. The girl brought an adventure bag with different foods. It looked more like she was going to a picnic in the garden. It is better to leave such unnecessary things as knives, tents, and the rest to the knights. The baby does not need to travel alone. The brother is going to keep the girl company, since this is the only way she will be under reliable protection. They might end up all going instead. The escorts are willing to go with her, even to hunt the Demon King. First of all, the girl can hear about the adventures. The Duke intervenes there, because everyone should know their limits. The time has come for the knights to return to the training ground. One of them asks how someone can even say such things as if these were orders. There is commotion all around while someone is pretending that the lady was hit by a leaf. You can't even react to it. The baby is too sweet and wonderful. She needs a worthy bodyguard who will definitely not let you down. The blonde passes by her acquaintances, making them cry. She has long chosen a person for herself, so she reaches out with her hands to the brunette. The same guy is standing behind the person he is currently talking to. The hero is still too young and already understands that nothing will work out. But the Duke surprises him. He has room to grow in the future. His lordship clearly asked the man to take the best possible care of his daughter, protecting her from harm. Night has fallen. A scarlet liquid flows down your face, making your cheekbones ache, while those standing opposite laugh mercilessly. The boy thought that he would be able to escape, but it seems that everything was not so simple. The child is not guilty, but an order is an order. They were kind to the orphan. But the time has come to put an end to everything. Instead of being killed, the boy opened his eyes to see a handsome blonde man who offered to follow him. He could give him a chance. A ray of light in pitch darkness brought the young man out of poverty and made him a respected knight. Instead of becoming a mercenary, the hero set out to destroy those who pose a threat to the empire. Duke Arton became for the boy a light that spreads like the sun. Bowing his head, the hero again says that his blade and soul completely belong to the young mistress. Early in the morning, the older brother came into the baby's room and grabbed the baby's cheek to make her wake up. It's morning, so lying in bed is simply unforgivable. Only the little ones don't get up for a very long time. The blonde just recently insisted that she be treated like an adult. The girl managed to change her mind about what happened earlier. Holding out her hands, her sister asks to be held. Nothing matters anymore, but even the other brother teases his sister for coming in Cedric's arms. In the morning, the maiden is small, and in the evening she is an adult. She decided that such logic would be quite good for herself. Eva is still just a child. It seems that some kind of letter arrived on which it is not written what is inside. The knight walks forward along the corridor, but something behind him frightens him incredibly, although it is a wish of good morning. The herald quickly smiled as it turned out to be the lady, and a second later she was already in his arms. The girl throws a letter in her face. Inside is an invitation from the Marquis of Cassis to some banquet or tea party. Since ancient times, this family has been famous for its many outstanding magical abilities. The current Marquis is a comrade of His Majesty the Emperor. All three went through many difficulties. The knight does not know who he will play with if the lady leaves. The herald is already an adult, so he can play by himself. He should try to grow up. The hero cannot believe that a 3-year-old girl is asking when a man will grow up. The lady goes beyond all limits. Several days have passed. The Duke's carriage is heading to the right place, so Eva is called to go inside. Before the maiden leaves, the knight asks them to repeat what they have already taught her. She remembers everything best. First of all, if a demon appears on the road, you need to frighten him because this is automatically salvation. The herald was about to say that the girl was cute, but he corrected himself in time, so he smiled, saying that it was intimidating. Demons shouldn't really attack, so you can calm down. Besides this, we were also talking about strangers who might offer to eat together. The baby repeats the memorized words that she doesn't want or doesn't need something like that. If someone strokes his head, the blonde has the right to kick him. The lady's legs are a bit short, so she won't be able to reach the most important places, but she'll try anyway. Finally, the maiden says that if someone drags her somewhere, she will immediately scream loudly so that they do not try to do anything to her. The Duke turns to the knights because they didn't waste their time. His wife hopes that it will finally be noticed that they are doing useless things with Eva. Instead of punishment, the hero is happy that finally someone did something real today. Everyone is exempt from training as in honor of the holiday. The husband becomes a complete fool when it comes to his daughter. He never behaved like this, but everything has changed. The knights, who seemed to be downcast but in the end turned out to be even more violent, also behave like the girl's father. Only Karen and Eden are riding in the carriage. While the carriage was rushing along the roads, the heroine noticed a toy bunny. The servants were obliged to buy exactly the same one by order. The man is also going to find a bear. He is Evelyn's only friend in food and sleep, and even in games. The toy will be a jack of all trades. However, it will complement the girl's existing forest of dolls. The sister turns to Cedric with a question about friends because she sincerely hopes that she can find someone new. Besides the Duke, there will also be children from other families there, so perhaps you will actually be able to make friends with someone? The only Artina is really famous. He is so popular and great that it is impossible to describe. Many, for the sake of random gain, put on the guise of goodwill and became close, while others, trying to find out his weaknesses, entered into open hostility. In such a situation, finding a true friend is like grasping at a star. The little girl wants to make a lot of friends. The Marquis runs outside, rejoicing at his lordship. A lot of time has passed, and I can't even remember when the last meeting was. Hugo held back and did not come until a friend showed up at the office in the palace and began begging him to visit the estate. In fact, the man wanted more to see Arton's daughter. Even if he came to them, they would probably hide her. The princess bends down to greet Cassis. Once again, she has grown a lot since their last meeting in the house. The hero moves his hand to his son and daughter, whom he is about to meet. The boy's name is Ikrian. The young man bends down to kiss his hand, thanking him once again for the courage to visit them. Then in the carriage, the brother said that Evelia should under no circumstances become close to the heir of the Marquis's family. As soon as Cedric told him, everything immediately became clear, because the guy really looked like a sweet-tongued fox. Next in line is a cute girl. Her name is Lillian. The baby comes forward, shrinking a little. She sincerely hopes that they will become friends very quickly. There is not even a clue what to do next. The blonde is the daughter of a duke and a wealthy family, and she may well not like such a weak friend. Reality clearly exceeded expectations. The girl grabs the hand of her interlocutor, offering to become friends. Sometimes you don't need any reasons to become close. The moment when everyone understood what would happen next came for the first time. The mistress opens her mouth so that Lillian treats her with another piece of candy from the box. Cedric watches the duo with a permanent expression on his face. His sister is acting too nice. Icrian now understands who Artina is proud of. All day long, golden hair and ocean-colored eyes point to the favorite of the gods. The naked eye can see that the baby is strikingly different from Lillian, who is completely different. According to the guy, you can understand that he is dreaming of something, but it is better to stop so that his family does not help him move to the next world. The young man understands what he is talking about, therefore smiling. He notes that he likes older girls. A mature lady is better than an unintelligent child. Icrian feels sorry in advance for the poor fellow who will fall in love with the girl, because then he will have to deal with her brothers and constant pain in his head. Arkan will never allow Eva to have a lover. The girl will indeed face a fate without boyfriends. Apparently, whoever decides to be close to Artina will hang on the brink of death every second. The butler extends his hand towards the estate. He asks to proceed to the garden for a picnic arranged for the guests. There are too many children around. Crying, playing, and talking loudly, the guys are shrinking from unpleasant sensations. Arkan offers to go fight, since they haven't done this for a long time. Cedric wants to go with them, since fencing seems worthwhile compared to the garden. Lillian and the mistress can be alone, but at the same time play with the rest of those present on the site. Eva decides to stay because she feels that it will be interesting. Her friend immediately, without hesitation, agrees. The sister never left her brother a single step, but it seems that now everything is different. If someone offends them, you can always call for help. The baby asks not to worry because she can stand up for herself. The brothers just smile, knowing what she will do. It's easier not to go to extremes, so if necessary, you need to call Arkan or Cedric. Nothing would happen to the girls. It wasn't enough that they had to look at blood at such a young age. Almost immediately, they pay attention to the deuce. Everyone knows that the girl is the daughter of a famous duke. My nerves begin to fray. There are too many unfamiliar children around who admire the beauty of their new acquaintance. While the maiden sat down on a bench to rest, Morrigan Karen, the daughter of Count Karen, was the first to approach her. Then pandemonium begins while the others present their names. The lady should come to everyone for tea when there is time. The time has come to fight back to the last. The heroine is not going to give up just like that. At the most opportune moment, another new girl named Ceres, daughter of the Marquis of Defontes, approaches. The lady introduces herself, but they answer her in a cold voice. She should have been taught that coming to a party and causing such a commotion is not a sign of good manners. Apparently, the blonde has not yet fully understood the rules of etiquette, but Ceres, as a kind soul, will of course help. It is not entirely clear why all this is said at all. There is no need to be ashamed of ignorance because the baby is still very young. Belatedly, the lady realized that the daughter of that same slippery type was standing right in front of her. You can call it luck. The blonde thought that her savior had finally arrived, but she had no idea how wrong she was. Not intending to give up, the beauty continues to remain silent. Ceres thinks that her friend is completely stupid, since she does not respond to the bullying. Everyone ascribed to the count's daughter the title of the most beautiful, the future queen of social circles, and even the best in this world. Before Evelina Artina was born, everything was better. 2 years ago at a birthday party, everyone knew about her, and the heroine lost every title. The baby is missing only the stars from the sky, but in fact she is the most ordinary like everyone else. The girl secretly heard from her father that Artan's family would soon collapse. When this happens, Ceres can once again become the best. Apparently the knights return to the capital. They say that they fled from the front in fear, afraid of demonic creatures. Finally, there is at least some reaction, and unfortunately, it is anger. The maiden does not want to listen to the insults of her knights. Eva calls on Ondine, who understands her task without words. So after a second, The interlocutor is already standing doused with water. The blonde does not think that she acted wrongly by offering a small surprise. It is beyond her strength to endure the insults of the knights. While the screams are spreading, the atmosphere thickens around and the air takes on a scarlet hue. Someone's figure appears in the distance, and Dantalion appears. Demons are mainly divided into two categories: ordinary ones and those with exceptional power. Ordinary ones are absolutely and unquestioningly loyal, but Dantalions do not obey the 72nd demons. They were branded as apostates and were completely banished from the demonic lands, having to survive by eating scraps that fell from the furthest corners of the underworld. These kinds of creatures had neither self-awareness nor fear, because they were driven only by the desire to tear apart everything in their path. The girl is about to go forward, but something throws her back. There are girls in front who smile evilly, almost starting to laugh. Most of all, you need to worry about Undine. The creature should not harm the only friend whom the young princess cherishes so much. She suddenly rushes at one of them, screaming about how disgusting he is. It is obvious that a small child cannot cope with a Dantalion that is out of control. So she screams with all her might, calling for the knights to help. One of the brothers begins to protect his sister, while Cedric hugs the baby to calm her down. Ava must be safe as quickly as possible, so that the family does not worry. Arcan behaves as if he were a hero, but in reality, he has no idea what to do next, because there are about a dozen Dantalions, and to withstand such a number is already like a feat. The Duke came to the rescue and, stepping forward with heavy steps, asked what was going on. The awareness of the situation overtook extremely quickly. The gaze turns to the daughter's knee, on which there is an abrasion received during the events when she fell. A sword is in her hands because no one dares to injure Eva. Besides Hugo, the knights begin to gather around, looking visibly furious at the situation they all ended up in. Such a brat does not dare to be near the mistress, because this is the worst scenario that could be imagined. The guys choose who they will attack, doing it recklessly. It is strange that at such a time, demons could appear not only in the north. As it happens, men look at what is happening without a readable expression on their faces, because what is happening is captivating. It is unclear what the subjects forgot on the estate, but chaos began after Eva went to the marquee. The knights did not know what to do because their worries about their mistress intensified several times. Unfortunately, no one knows what can happen in the harsh outside world, about which, as we know, not much is known. Yet the butler heard something from the servant and immediately decided to convey it. Evelia said that she would like to take a stuffed bunny with her. One of those gathered immediately became more animated than anyone else, saying that they urgently needed to go to the toy store to get the necessary thing and give it back. The master forbade anyone to follow him to the Marquise's estate. But if you go to the fence, then nothing bad will happen. The fence is adjacent to the left side of the garden, where the girl will be. Finally, the knights arrived at the house where they were going. From the very beginning, they almost immediately met Karen, who was surprised to see his acquaintances. The conversation, which had not even begun, was interrupted by sharp screams. A fight began in which no one wanted to give up. The strength was given by anger that the Dantalions attacked the mistress and her friends, so there is absolutely no point in standing on ceremony with these creatures. In conclusion, the decision was that everyone around was to blame for the fact that Artina tripped and was now crying. They were probably drooling and thinking about how to feast on them. Hugo wanted to start screaming, but he realized that it was entirely his fault. He believed that the idiots would just sit back, even if it was clear from the very beginning what their next move would be. People around admire the Knights of Artan who dealt with a dozen demons so quickly. The blonde did not share the joy, because she was very scared, not knowing how they could be like that. She begins to cry. Karen hands out a toy that one of the arrivals brought, and in return receives a hug from the mistress. Only the most important question remains about who called the demons to this estate. The Dantalions were deliberately called into the garden where the children were, and today was the first time an outdoor picnic had been arranged in recent months, as there were many guests. The target was clearly Avelia from the very beginning, who did not know that this could happen to her. Icrian whispers in her ear about calling Undine, because she will help find the one who called the attackers. The spirit of water almost immediately appeared nearby, but her reaction was strange. She grabs the girl by the cheek, asking her not to scream so loudly because otherwise everyone might think something wrong. In a few seconds, the beauty figured out who created all this chaos. Anger surges, but trying to restrain herself, the little girl points her hand at the man standing a few steps from the Duke. The young man begins to shout that he has not done anything. He, as you know, even goes to church, and if you need some kind of confirmation, you can call the priest to verify the truthfulness. Hugo stands with a stony expression on his face. According to the laws of the country in which they live, a person who has made a deal with demons must be dealt with immediately on the spot. The only question remains is how exactly to solve the problem, because the hero can be killed on the spot or sent to the emperor. After all, it would be nice to visit a friend, so the Duke orders Count Malone to be detained. Lillian calls his lordship, trying not to raise her voice too much. Before any sentence is passed, she must tell something. Perhaps the moment will help in the situation. When the Dantalians appeared, Mrs. Artina tried to step back, but the Count's daughter pushed her straight towards the attackers, as if she too had been in conspiracy against the beauty from the very beginning. The brunette interrupts, shouting that everything that was said is absolutely not true. The girl simply tripped when she got up from her chair, and it was completely her fault. Ondine lights up with a bright fire, saying that everything that was said was a lie, everything was visible, and the girl pushed the ward of the spirits straight forward, hoping for the end that awaited the blonde. The Duke is not going to listen to stupid excuses that are not even related to each other. The father summoned demons and his daughter pushed Avelia either on orders or because of the hostility she felt. If everything goes on like this, then there is no point in expecting anything good. A promise happened last night. The Marquis ordered to deal with Artan's daughter who stood in the way. Once Lucius gains power and Lillian becomes empress, a new status will be achieved that can only be earned by someone who does their job well. Hugo understood what was happening, therefore. Without taking his eyes off his acquaintance, he asks Arkan to take Avelia and the others with him into the cage and then take them away. They should not see the horror that will happen. The girl looks at what is happening from afar. For the last time, she actually became scared because it became clear that her father was furious. Usually, the man remained calmer, but here there was something else. The brother hugs his sister so that she doesn't start crying. They almost got the baby, but now you can calm down, because everything ended not as terrible as it could have been initially. Just a little more, and the family would never have seen their favorite if Hugo didn't do something with those who organized all this. Then the boy would figure it out on his own. If a man had dealt with the Count and his daughter here and now, there would not be a single person in the country who would dare to condemn such actions. People do not think that the Duke would act terribly. Ava is taken aside so that she does not observe what follows. A second later, a command is heard for the knights to begin, and one of them runs first with a sword in his hands. Looking at the bodies lying on the ground, Defont talks about how disgusting it is. They point a gun at him. The Marquis probably thought that they wouldn't find out about his tricks planning to play, until the last the man asks to explain in more detail. Lucius knows that the enemy has no evidence that this particular person tried to kill his daughter. The blonde recommends keeping an eye on things. From now on, the laws of the Empire do not allow getting rid of the villain, but life is not always subject to the Empire. The Duke will not dare to do something terrible. Adele will otherwise learn the consequences of her actions, which ultimately did not turn out to be correct. The man bows his head and asks for forgiveness for not looking. He could not watch all the guests, and because of this, the daughter suffered in the same way as her friends who were playing together in the garden. Someday something like this had to happen, because in any case they were left with no choice. Everyone saw how 2 years ago the baby acquired the ability which led to the present. Those forces that lurk inside should never hurt the souls of children who are not even to blame for the fact that they were chosen as one of the spiritual magicians. All that remains is to try to protect the child further. The next day came. The sun rose high in the sky, illuminating the entire yard. Lillian calls her friend, but she, without moving from her place, asks to come closer to her. She saw a bunny somewhere in the distance. The knights who had been sitting in the bushes all this time raised their heads, asking if the beauty wanted an animal to be caught for her. The Marquise was already tired of constant accompaniment. The girl raises her voice when she answers in denial. You cannot catch the hare, but instead the heroes will stand on the sidelines and watch the actions that Mrs. Artina will perform. The girl ran along the path in order to find that same animal. Something sparkled in the bushes, so we can assume that it was an emerald. The heroine thinks that this is even better, so she pulls her pen towards the foliage. A man sitting under a tree screams in pain, and then removes the girl's hand. He asks what she was even thinking when she decided to do something like that to a stranger. The brunette would like to know how he was discovered in the first place. Initially, the guy tried to hide from prying eyes, which prevented him from resting. In fact, he is a demon. The baby screams that he is a demon and jumps to the side frightened. The reaction of his new acquaintance is strange, because in his opinion, there is no point in comparing these two in any case. Explaining what is wrong, the hero also tells a little more. He is one of the 72 demons that rule the rest, as they are the highest of the entire race that is known about. In that world, the young man is the second most important, which already makes it clear that he is still a brat. The girl does not understand what to do and how to get rid of the person who can cause her pain. The baby remembers what the knights told her about what to do when a demon appears on the road. She jumps up and begins to growl, trying to be intimidating. One gets the feeling that the girl is an animal and a person at the same time, but the ears are not noticed and the claws are not sharp at all. The tail also did not appear, which means there is some kind of mistake. The beauty is an ordinary person, but in fact she tried to emit a terrible scream, which in theory was supposed to scare away the young man. No longer holding back, the brunette begins to laugh. Deciding to move from this place, the blonde asks the name of a friend. Demons don't just give out their data. The little girl didn't quite understand, so she assumed that his name was Aga since that was the first answer. A smile appears on her face because in her heart, the heroine is glad that she was able to guess. On the first try, usually she does not think for more than 1 minute, and nothing bad happens every time. The hero frowns at what he hears. The girl has no right to distort his majestic name, which in fact is so wonderful from afar. The voices of knights are heard who are looking for the Duchess. The realization overtook the consciousness quite quickly because it became clear that the child from the Arton family, which was not initially known, the little girl smelled of perfume, and in a normal situation, it would have been worth killing her. But instead, dropping to one knee, the guy asks, "What's my friend's name?" Evelia says her name, and then smiles, ruffling the soft hair on top of her head. The man asks to keep the moment they met in the forest a secret for their own good. If the beauty says that she saw a bunny, the demon will even be grateful, not listening to the answer. The man evaporates, leaving behind only a cloud of dark smoke. The family finally found the girl asking what she was doing alone in the clearing. The beauty has just seen an animal which turned out to be very cute. She points somewhere deep into the forest, saying that the baby managed to run away due to the fright that happened as soon as the Duke arrived. In her head, the princess hopes that they will be able to meet at least once more, but not everything is so simple. The brunette sitting on the top branch of the tree smiles, repeating the name in order to remember. It had been a long time since people had summoned Dantalians on their own for profit. The leader decided to go down to take a look, but in reality, it turned out to be too boring to be in the midst of a battle. The hero believes that he has already become old, and even more so, he is not too interested in such things. Given the circumstances, everything ended too quickly. Therefore, sitting under a tree, the boy decides to take a nap while no one is there. Already falling asleep, I have to jump up sharply because of the pain that appeared somewhere in my ear. Someone attacked from behind, and also cowardly pulled my earring instead of starting a duel. Pictures of that cute girl who turned out to be a princess are scrolling through my head. A smile stretches on its own lips, because the hero hasn't met such interesting people for a long time. The maids are discussing how their mistress is doing. One of them heard that she had a very hard time after her disappearance, but she had already gone to bed. Hugo's carriage has finally arrived, and he gets out of it onto the path carrying forward the baby, who woke up in his arms. She doesn't understand why everyone suddenly ran around. The beauty did not have time to arrive, but she has already seen everyone she needs. All that remains is to rejoice that the girl has returned, and such an emotional moment brings tears to the eyes of the assembled maids. The lady is strong and brave. The evening routine began where the maids washed and dressed the baby for bed. She was probably pretty tired after everything that happened. It was time to go to bed so as not to torture her young body. The woman takes the blonde inside, where there is a whole bunch of teddy bears in the room. The knights gave a lot of gifts so that you can feel a little better than you were before. While dismantling the bed, the Duchess complains that she will now have nowhere to lie due to the number of gifts. She urgently asks to distribute all the good things to other children, which evokes a reaction of tenderness. In fact, the kind soul has nothing to do with it, because the beauty simply believes that she does not need so many bear cubs. They wish her good night, and as soon as her eyes close, the baby finds herself in a strange, unfamiliar place. Algaris comes out of the shadows, putting on his ears. He really has become the cute bunny he was praised for. Earlier, his friend said that she wanted to see each other again, so the brunette came down to her, especially for this occasion. The main spirit catches fish in the pond and then releases them. A window opens before his eyes with the image of sleeping Evelia. Before meeting her, the man only had to deal with people once. In all dimensions, people are selfish beings driven by petty passions. Being a ruler, the hero had to see the essence of the soul, because of which the color of people can be distinguished almost immediately without problems. Even when the young man ran away from boredom into the human world in search of entertainment, their souls all as one were black and dull. Now the blonde even feels sick to look at those who are in front of him. Perhaps more to blame for the lack of trust in creatures that can't seem to get enough of what they have. Puny carts rushed back and forth throughout the city without stopping. The hero would never have thought that in this crazy world, like no other world, there would be nothing bright, but everything changed. It seemed that a person who believes in spirits would never appear. The beauty behaved strangely. For a man, she was an incredible fool, because she rushed to save Ondine while drowning in the abyss of water. Most likely, she simply did not think when she did something. One of the wards did not even think that someone would try to help her. Thinking that she was a child without thinking twice, the girl decided to thank her savior as a sign of attention. The brunette was given a new life which could already be considered a success. Ondine was going to vouch for the woman's safety in the new world, thereby rewarding the good deeds that had been committed. It seemed obvious that the girl, by force of nature, would immediately make a fuss. If she found out that she died by mistake, she had to give her life not even for a person, but for a spirit, so that you can regret your fate with an open heart. Instead of acting so cheekily, the heroine smiled when she heard that everything was fine with that little girl. She was glad that nothing bad had happened, even knowing that it was not going to happen. When the ruler saw a noble soul, she had no equal among people for many thousands of years. It was simply impossible that he would not inherit and make a mistake. He had to choose what to do next. Despite the fact that the woman had forgotten her past life, the golden color of her soul did not change a bit. Even in the new world, she was as kind and open as a readable book, sharing her joys and hardships with her loved ones. Evelia grew up with a bright smile on her face that brightened the days of the people she valued so much the most. Now, the blonde is simply happy to follow the baby's first steps for the first time in his life, which until now had little meaning. He wanted to become for someone a sword and shield that would hide them from adversity or something bad. There was no agreement between them, and therefore the hero could not arbitrarily ignore the existing restrictions. Possessing power comparable to the divine, he nevertheless cannot influence human lives. But when Eva calls them, the spirits will be ready. Ceres shouts to her father that she doesn't like how the situation as a whole turned out. The man said that something would definitely happen to the Duchess, but as practice has shown, nothing bad happened. Sitting on the edge of a cliff, the blonde listens to conversations. Lucius has already said 1,000 times that if the beauty wants to speak out against the Arton family, she needs to be extremely careful. Someday, Evelia must call them, so that in the end they can provide assistance worthy of each of the spirits. The moment can only be waited because unfortunately others are not able to speed up the process. Rumors began to circulate at the Duke's estate that after the banquet in honor of the birth of Cassis, the Marquis of Defon's carriage overturned for an unknown reason. He was driving home, and this happened unexpectedly even for himself. Further details were never established, but the Duke's men had no time to speculate about the situation, as they were busy protecting the baby living in the palace. The blonde grabs Karen's clothes with her small hand, asking him to go with her. They must go in search of a secret shelter, which is somewhere nearby apparently. The servants smile because it seems that the mistress already needs personal space, since she insists so much Ava could create a whole commotion in the estate with one word. The girl exhales and tries to remain calm. She really needs free space like air, because there are too many people walking through her room. It is not clear what they all forgot in the room. If a woman wants to spend time completely alone, she really cannot do without a secret shelter. She realized this quite recently, and immediately turned to Karen so that they go on a search. Something like those that Cedric read about in fairy tales with cute little animals and flowers growing here and there. It would be really cool to discover something like that. The blonde is tired of moving forward through the forest, turning to Ondine, who is sitting on her shoulder. The beauty asks why there is nowhere with waterflowers and cute little animals. That is where she would like it. The spirit smiles, thinking about what their bird will grow into, not understanding what we are talking about. The beauty says something about how the chick will one day become a full-fledged bird. Be that as it may, the woman knows where there is a wonderful place for refuge. Of course the secret can be revealed, but the girl must promise that she will not do anything stupid in the course of events. Having crossed the mountains and crossed the water, the couple found the beautiful place that their friend had spoken about. The knights did not immediately believe that the lady had begun building her shelter. The knights spared no effort applying their outstanding swordsmanship to woodworking. They tried to be as skilled as possible in their craft. The duke's men who were watching also helped some prepared snacks, and some offered to help with painting furniture or planting flowers. The first thing the beauty did was also to obtain a magic stone that drives away evil creatures. Everyone got caught up in the construction of a secret shelter. By the end of construction, every person in the estate knew about what was happening. Marquis Cassis gave a teleportation necklace as a gift. The girl was happy, because now she could get to her place even without Karen. It was time to eat the goodies that had also been prepared in advance. Beauty saved half of the orange juice to drink with the cookies, and now happily heads forward to the door to begin. Within 10 minutes, the girl stood in front of the knights and brothers with an empty juice jar. It turned out that someone had entered the secret shelter and taken everything that was possible. The baby is crying, complaining about how much she wanted cookies and juice yesterday. It seemed to her that she drank the whole drink, so she had to bring more. But today, everything was gone again. It turns out that the thief did not even touch the jewelry because he had no intentions. It seems that the robbers did not intend to cause too much damage to the house. The knight chuckles, trying to think about who could be involved in what was happening. Maybe a piglet similar to the lady snuck in and elegantly cleaned out all the supplies they had. The heroine bows her head, trying not to cry again. But for such a small child, this is literally a test. Now thieves are called pigs, even if there are some logical sides to the speech. The secret hut was supposed to be surrounded by cute animals, just as the princess dreamed of it. But as it turned out, everything fell apart, and a whole den of robbers gathered there. You can never forgive the horror that you had to endure. The blue-eyed girl is serious, declaring a hunt for the thief for goodies. He will not be pardoned as he would like to receive. First of all, the knights helped lay out plates of cookies along the way to the entrance to the room. A wonderful bait. So when the robbers come, the girl will guard them like a ferocious tiger. No one would dare behave inappropriately only after what happened. The maiden turns her gaze to the tempting basket of cookies, thinking about breaking for a snack. Whatever one may say for the traps that were made, you don't need so many cookies, so nothing bad will happen. Literally, a few pieces turned into a huge amount from which it was extremely difficult to stop. The beauty woke up a few hours later again, noticing that all the food that had been there earlier had simply disappeared. She wanted to cry because it was considered undeserved, which began to make her sleepy almost immediately. Perhaps we should take everything much more simply because the thieves probably haven't come yet. But the basket was empty quite quickly, as if by itself, although the blonde was doing it. Blue Eyes doesn't worry about anything anymore, starting to shout that as soon as she catches the one who is bothering her, she will kick his ass. A voice is heard from behind that asks what they are talking about. The man twists everything he can in his own way to make it easier, on the contrary, saying that perhaps the one who made everything worse was the princess. Not only did the girl show disrespect for the owner of the house, but in addition to all this, without asking, she built herself a house which is considered the best in the area. The girl immediately asks why the land belongs to the guy. Leaning lower so that the girl could hear him better, The man says that she still walks under the table, but is already trying to poke in the future the princess should treat others with respect. The young man is older and asked to be treated with respect, which can be considered a completely logical outcome, but he himself does not know how to behave with others. Perhaps it is better to address him as a boy. Starting to consider the options that could be used, the beauty does not quite understand why the blonde's face is gradually changing while he curls his eyebrows in strange surprise. In the end, the hero offers to call him whatever the lady wants. She nods, but then screams, asking why the hero suddenly decided that the lands in the forest belong only to him. Initially, the clearing was his secret place where people could not reach. As soon as he was distracted by an important matter and left, someone immediately built a house for himself. The one who was the first to be in the appointed place was right. The girl built her house in the forest on a completely empty place, brought herself some goodies, and lived quietly without any problems. But very soon, the idol was destroyed. The hero quickly realized that it would be enough for him to simply show that he was the first to arrive in the forest, and then the situation would be resolved. He asks to follow him in order to show something important on the street. A long time ago, a little thing was hidden under a tree. All the precious things were put in a suitcase, and this is the only way he could be sure of their safety. The girl, listening and exhaling, says that she was lucky. It seemed to her that she would be buried in the same place as Box. The thief of treats turned out, fortunately, not such a bad person. I remember those words when the hero heard how they wanted to kick his ass for the atrocities that he had committed over the past few days. The guy is no slouch either, so perhaps he could do the same with the one who stole his land, and now behaves like a rightful owner who doesn't care. We cannot allow the one who stole both the cookies and the juice to hurt the little girl. She smiles sweetly, turning on her charm, asking if the new acquaintance wants more of the goodies that are left in the room. A skeptical look showed clear distrust, because in the end, it would not be so easy to bribe the young man. The guy turned out to be smart, so all that remains is to share the hut that the knights built together. The blonde chuckles and then demonstratively scratches his chin thoughtfully, yet it seems to him that this will not be enough. From now on, the girl should leave a lot of cookies with juice, and then cohabitation will be a good option. It seems that another person like him will be found who most likely will not even behave adequately, which seems the saddest thing from the very beginning. The little girl says something about pancakes, more like a curse, but tries to get out of the situation, correcting everything by what she wants to eat. Smiling, the blonde agrees because he himself would not refuse pancakes. After half an hour, the heroine returned back to the brothers. She was almost crying, saying that a treacherous, ugly scoundrel had appeared in her wonderful place. Everything turned out not without exaggerating the story that came out in the end. On top of all this, the guy is still stealing precious goodies and never stops mocking him, demanding that they bring him even more. The family will not leave the one who tortures Eva because she deserves all the best. For the sake of her timid, flower-like sister, Arkan will specially go to battle with that person, because the girl does not deserve bad treatment and such tricks from others. Evelia must wait for the man outside and not go inside so as not to get caught. The beauty grabs the book, trying to tear out a few pages from it. I want to be even more angry, because it is impossible to believe that because of some thief, the beauty could not get into her secret hideout, which seemed ideal for her space. Although the lady had an unenviable fate, that young man still doesn't look like such a villain. It's better to keep quiet, and when the little girl grows up and learns to wield a sword properly, then she will be able to sort out all the problems herself. For now, the heroine has gone to the kitchen. She calls Seth, who is the main chef. If the man has a free minute, the lady would like to get some dough. Blue-Eyed wants to make buns herself for the first time, and this idea seems simply ideal to her. She wants to treat all her relatives to them and is sure that they will like it. Slowly, revenge is accomplished. The man in the cap smiles, asking how he can refuse such a sweet child. Doing anything for the girl is his job, and he is touched by the request. First of all, the dough is handed over, which can be placed in a bowl, and all the ingredients that play an important role can be added there. Nodding her head, the blonde accepts what was proposed. As soon as her face turns in the opposite direction, the beauty smiles ominously, because the first step on the path to revenge has already been taken. A few steps remain, and then you can rejoice from the heart. They call on Ondine, who seems to have been busy with something now. A pair of glasses could use an accomplice. The little girl asks for help, and to stuff everything she shows into the given dough. Eva is not going to create something again, because this time what was planned is quite logical. Apparently there will be trouble after all. Therefore, in order to interfere, the spirit offers to do something more productive. The blonde does not give up. She is engaged in a very important matter. The thief will be presented with the bitterness of disappointment and tears of suffering which he deserves after everything that has been done and said. The water girl is sent to the door almost immediately after arrival. You need to make sure that no adults come who can ruin the whole idea. It's unlikely that anyone would ask the baby for something like that, but there is no right to refuse. That man accepts one of the buns that a friend baked one, cannot help but praise the one who is trying. So the man asks to continue in the same spirit, so that it will only get better. If the young man had known what was inside, he certainly would not have said words of gratitude. The food was created personally from everything that came to hand, and this cannot be something edible. Bringing the bun to his mouth, the hero freezes and then puts it aside. He wanted to ask the princess for something else, but is not going to immediately clarify what exactly it will be about. The Duchess wants to be angry, and her face shows the disappointment that she felt when the enemy put aside the food. In addition to his behavior, the guy also has the audacity to ask for some kind of favor. The blonde thought that it would be more difficult, but not everything is so bad. They can keep the whole story secret about the fact that the girl built a shelter on his land, and also that she met a young man. If Eva wants, they will never see each other again. The girl wants to take revenge when she becomes an adult, so she refuses, asking why keep their meeting a secret. Everyone already knows that the new acquaintance is a vile scoundrel with a terrible character who stole the little girl's refuge. The words pierce right through, not even giving the first one the opportunity to say anything. It cannot be said that the person who is in front of the beauty is a thief who ate clean the supplies that remained. He is a real criminal or villain. The hero nods again, joking about the fact that he is someone not the best. Everything said can be written down in warnings after the words. His hand reaches for the bun, and his teeth bite into it as if he had not eaten for a very long time. Every day a new friend will come to eat buns prepared by a friend. Hearing this will make your ears curl up and make you want to cry. The boy throws something on the table, thereby making the beauty regret what she did earlier. Someday she will definitely get even with him. Of course, from the first words spoken by the princess, everything became clear. But still, apparently, the rumors that the daughter of Duke Arton is a quiet and meek girl were greatly exaggerated by her admirers. The boy thinks about what could have made his new acquaintance behave so strangely. She was probably scared so much so that she threw a pine cone in her face and ran away from the house to her estate. Justifying himself by the fact that she had deprived the young man of his only place of rest, the man began to distribute the food she had so carefully stored to the animals in the forest, and one day came up with completely absurd proposals. He even tried to take away her shelter. However, no matter what the blonde did, the lady always remained nearby, as if nothing bothered her. For the first time in a long time, she managed to feel so at ease with someone next to her. A man rejoices at the little things that are available to him, knowing that in fact he might not even deserve them. Everything was decided perfectly when he made a new friend in the form of a lady. 4 years ago, after the death of his mother, he had to live putting himself in danger every second. And now he is not the crown prince of the empire at all, but an ordinary, unremarkable child. The hero gets up from his seat, clutching the cone in his hands. He would like to apologize for accidentally going too far in trying to protect himself again from uninvited guests. Of course, the boy said that the couple might never meet again, but in fact, there were completely different thoughts in my head about Artina, who could be friendlier. Taking a bite of the bun, the blonde begins to spit because the taste turned out to be too disgusting. The thief got what he deserved, even if unfortunately the princess did not see his facial expression. Virgo enters the main hall and sees a picture of one of the brothers coughing, and then trying to ask for water desperately grabs the glass that should relieve everything. It turned out that anger completely overshadowed the mind. The lady did not notice how she mixed up the food, and because of this left her opponent in a normal state. Nevertheless, trouble happened, and now the consequences can no longer be avoided. The beauty clearly understands what she will get from her mother, who never liked Evelia's bad behavior. After the child threw a lump in his face and ran away to his home, there was too much to do. At first angry with the thief of treats, the woman stopped going to her shelter for a while, and meanwhile autumn gave way to winter. The beauty turned 4 years old, and so in order to finally get rid of this thief, she began to learn fencing. The first wooden sword brought an inordinate amount of joyful squealing from the child. Dressed in an outfit made especially for the Duchess by Vivian, the blonde secretly began training, which meant literally everything in this world to her. I managed to enjoy the winter to my heart's content, and in addition to all this successfully practiced very soon, the time should come when everything will begin to bloom in the garden behind the Arton estate. The change of season also meant that the Blessing Festival was about to begin. The lady had previously asked permission to go there with Karen and Cedric, who agreed to accompany her. The anticipation could not be taken away, because at the event the lady was going to meet her relatives and even knights. Finally, everyone would witness her skills, which she had been trying to hone for months. The reaction was disappointing. One of the men laughed, saying that it was the first time he had seen someone in the family do something so bad. Usually everyone in the family has superpowers. It's better to practice and not talk too much before things start to work out better. The blue-eyed girl thought about the best until she was publicly ridiculed in front of other knights. Evelia made a strong-willed decision to become recognized as the best swordsman, and together with Alex to finally punish the thief, who still lived in a hut left in a clearing in the forest. The girl ran at full speed in order to see the blonde, but she could not even imagine that everything would turn out exactly like this, even in her dreams. There were no such terrible events. The few minutes before this incident were relatively calm. In the courtyard of the secret shelter, the girl began her regular training, which related to becoming better at fencing. Everyone will see the girl's development as a true professional who can be admired. Alec will grovel at every step as soon as it becomes clear to him who is in charge. A familiar voice is heard from behind, asking if the plan is too ambitious for such a stupid person. At the same moment, all words are forgotten, and thoughts disappear. Fear is shown on her face, even if the beauty does not consider it necessary to behave this way. She understands that Aga has come, but she is annoyed by the way he always appears. Unexpectedly, the thief returned on time. Ondine appears a second after the princess orders a bucket of water to be poured on him, a voice reminding him that such behavior can be dangerous, and he should not be forced to banish the spirit back to his world. The heroine has just put herself in danger if she touches the demonic energy with something so trivial. Alas, it won't end well. It wasn't the blonde, but that bunny from under the tree. Blue Eyes wonders how the man ended up nearby in this place. Considering that the entry of evil creatures into this area is strictly prohibited, there was no protective barrier, and even if there was one, it would not be enough to keep Aga at bay. It's better to hold your thoughts and stop calling the guy a hare, because it hurts his pride. Another nickname would be very useful, but it's clear from the interlocutor's face that she's not happy. In order not to choose from several options, the hero asks to call him simply Ace. Even the girl herself likes this option. But after that, she asks the demon to leave. He definitely has no place in the secret hideout. The energy of spirits is rare, and feeling a slight echo of it. The acquaintance came thus finding the lady, instead of something interesting. There was a spectacle of waving a sword in different directions. The girl begins to cry, asking Ondine if she really has no right to splash water in the face of a guy who certainly deserves even worse. She can't even imagine what would have happened if the demon had not hidden his energy in order to descend. Unfortunately, the spirit cannot resist such a powerful being. Only the ruler would be able to enter into a duel with Agares if the need arose to desire such a thing. Now the new friend must finally understand that the nickname she came up with is not very suitable for such a person. Now it has become clear that the little bunny is as strong as the supreme of the spirits. It turns out that now everything will go completely wrong. The sword falls from her hands when the baby cries again that she will never learn to swing a sword to its full potential. Most likely, the Duchess is simply that bad at any endeavor. The demon is trying to say that not everything is as bad as it seems at first glance, because the girl has the right to the best, The blonde behaves well for someone who has just taken up arms. Ondine asks if she can leave, but she is not heard. The brunette agrees, and even offers to show him how to behave correctly. His feet need to be placed shoulder-width apart. And then the swing of the sword should go in a straight line, wiping away his tears. The heroine tries to do everything exactly as they show her, and so that there are no errors. The knees should be straight, and also don't forget about the direction of the hands. Agares is not used to lying or teaching anyone, and therefore it's a little unpleasant for him to try to get out of his comfort zone. This girl catches on quickly. It's funny just watching the little one's clumsy movements. She should continue in the same vein and sometimes come in their place so that a friend can help her learn. In fact, this option is not at all what she needs. Relatives said that demons are all very greedy and evil, so being friends with them would not be the right decision. Besides, the worst of them can pretend to be kind and then suck all the blood clean. If everything is really so terrible, the girl will never allow herself to be fooled, suck out all the blood and become a blood thief. She does not consider herself a tasty specimen, but her friend is only offended by the fact that he is treated as insignificant. The man decides to play along and make sure that he is then asked to stop. He takes a frightening pose, talking about what a simpleton the lady is, because only now she realized what was what. Despite the fact that this could have been done earlier, the demon asks jokingly who such a sweet aroma comes from, to which the beauty shouts that she is not to blame for anything and jumps to the side. A stern voice is heard behind him, ordering him to move away from his friend. It wouldn't be very cool if someone caught the earth thief who built a house on someone else's territory. Now the blonde realized that standing in front of her was the very person whom she was going to take revenge on until her old age because of the cookies. I would like to quickly understand what to do in the situation that has developed. But my brain has completely stopped thinking, which is preventing me from understanding what and how to do. Agares orients himself faster, so he picks up his friend's armpit. An acquaintance without a twinge of conscience stood spying on the couple. And on top of all this, he is also rude to the elders. Obviously, young people are not taught politeness at all. After they go out into the world, you can be indignant as much as you want about the current situation. In this country, there is hardly a person who needs to be curried. They continue to argue, but the demon finds a worthy answer, saying that he is not at all a person who can worship. The baby understands that the situation will soon worsen. She needs to escape from the blood thief and from the yummy thief. But in the end, she cannot do either of them. They have a dialogue in which they shout at each other along with insults. She has a picture in her head of how the couple will unite and everyone will attack her together, and she is going to make sure that nothing gets worse for her. Smiling, the Duchess asks if the two would like to go to the Blessing Festival together. The girl had never been to such events before, so now she doubles down on something like this. Maybe they can tell her what's going on there, and how exactly, because at this rate, this is the best option. It is better not to quarrel among themselves, but instead to chat about the situation that could have developed in general. Beauty is curious to hear their stories about the festival, because perhaps someone has already been there before she did at her young age. The woman is glad that so far everything is going according to a strict plan, which she is following, so that it does not get worse. Everything has changed too quickly. But this does not mean that for the worse. Agares, who got his bearings a little faster, begins to speak first. If the question is about the festival, then the demon has no equal here. Even when local emperors called themselves simply kings, there was no longer a festival that the hero would not attend. The young man knows about what will happen next, so he doesn't mind telling the details. It is clear that there is a chance to get rid of the brat who is standing next to him. As soon as the demon gets rid of the prince, no one will bother them if you are interested in something. Then there is no need to be shy, because you can always ask another person instead. Obviously, the boy really knows where it would be best to go, so one can't help but be happy about what will happen next. The girl asked her friends and family 1,000,000 times, but everyone said different things. The knights believed that the beauty of the festival was the local taverns. Father and mother believed that usually the best activity was admiring the fireworks, after which they could have fun as if they had first met, when they first began to fall in love with each other, when love was born. The brunette doesn't know who these people are that Artina is talking about, but in his heart, he is eternally grateful for how everything turned out. He would like to understand where exactly to start the story before the girl becomes more interested. Restaurants with delicious food or pastry shops are considered one of the most wonderful, so this choice seems quite logical. The Day of Blessing is also a parade which the prince himself mentions. After all, the festivals of the empire are best known to those who live there, so the man starts again. The enemy hung around in the old days, and now surprisingly thinks he knows something better than the rest. The boy is still holding on, which is enviable. It is unknown how long the real estate thief has known the guy. But the hero waited a whole 5 months for the girl to appear again in their secret hideout, so he can't just give up. The prince will not sit and remain silent in a rag, as Agores wishes, before forcing him to leave the couple. He will have to do something more than just words to get to the best moment. It's not good to let go of your hands in front of the baby, so the demon has no right to use the power that he's been keeping within himself. All this time, people usually have their hands full, so maybe it's better for the prince to go far away to do these very things. Again, singling out people seems strange, so becoming suspicious, the young man asks if it is considered that the man sitting in front of him is not a full-fledged person, but someone else. The little girl smiles, pointing her finger at her friend, and saying that he is actually a demon who tried to suck out all the blood. The brunette hopes that her friend just decided to joke, and actually remains on his side, as before the prince heard that the creatures can penetrate their world, but to just meet one of them, like that is the first time. Judging by the color of this demon's hair and pupils, he is someone of high rank. The hero studies his acquaintance with an attentive gaze, while he talks to the beauty who asks more questions than even usual. Realization comes quite quickly, so the young man asks if the boy is the same demon who put an end to the first war of demons and people. If it really is him, then there will be even more questions. One of the few who shows friendliness to people is the one who is also the ruler of the eastern underworld. The interlocutor himself also knows who is talking to him, so he is not going to keep it a secret for too long. One glance is enough to understand that in front of them is the heir to the empire. The words are interrupted by the princess, who screams that he is an inveterate thief of goodies from the house that others built. The villain stole all the cookies and even the juice. Now the beauty is on the boy's side since she is angry with the boy. He sits there not himself, and generally does not understand what's what in such a situation. No one can condemn, because the hero himself hangs around forever in the East. The demon cannot even know anything about the festival of blessing people. Considering how long the man has lived in this world, some kid who still walks under the table doesn't even hold a candle. The baby jumps up asking to finally stop fighting and swearing, and the bunny and the thief should be kinder to each other and behave normally. If they have already said that bad behavior is enough, this means that it is true. The Duchess barks out orders as if there were 2 small dogs in front of her. They cannot look each other in the eyes, and must tell more about the event before it is too late. The first thing we had to start with was food, because it was the lady who chose the category, in which case they definitely need to go to Phoenicia, because they have a menu there with an excellent dish, Rester Eva. It becomes clear that the demon knows something after all. Shrimp and meat are taken fried together in olive oil. Then the finished product is poured with a special sauce and sold along with bread. The blonde lights up with desire because the description sounds just perfect. Among the confectionery products, Verona is considered the most delicious. They have a dessert, Monchouchou. This is a thin cake filled with chocolate cream, which is recommended to all those with a sweet tooth. Its cloying leaves a pleasant delight. Usually there are just a dime a dozen people, so you need to book a place in advance in order to get inside. It's probably all just delicious, and that's why the little one is already hungry, because she wants to try every dish offered at the event. Probably it's not worth saying that even if it's packed to capacity, all you have to do is introduce yourself as someone from Arton. They'll definitely come up with something as an exception. Now the young man is not Louis's heir, but a simple thief of goodies. The beauty wrote down everything that was said in a notebook, and now holds out the little thing to be checked for correctness, in addition to food. The parade that will take place was also previously mentioned. People there are either just watching or they can do something else for ordinary residents. Watching the procession is it's a great pleasure, but it will of course be a pity if such a sweet child just watches indifferently. One of the reasons why this is the most fun is because of the ancient belief that usually in the center of the procession, in one of the carriages, there are parade managers, and if they suddenly come across any child, they can not only bless him and put him in their carriage, but also allow the path to be strewn with petals. According to legend, if you grab a petal, then throughout the next year, a person will be relentlessly pursued by good luck, which will already be a big plus in any endeavor. It is impossible to miss something like this, and people try to get forward so that they are chosen. The girl immediately wants to know where it would be best for her to stand if she wants to get to that place. It would be best to climb the fountain that stands near the clock tower on the main square. Agares volunteered to draw a map with a detailed route that will help get to the place where the beauty is heading. The Duchess is so lucky that she herself is amazed that if luck is on her side, the beauty will give all the petals to her friends and family so that they too will know what it means to be even happier next year. The demon nods his head, but moves on to another topic, because at the moment he is most interested in who his girlfriend plans to go to the festival with. He hopes that the choice will be obvious after all the stories that have been heard. If the girl goes with him, all the leaves will be his, so I would like to become a companion. Dreams are broken quite quickly, since Avelia is going to invite one of the brothers she trusts them most of all. Hearing the news, the guys froze in surprise. It's unlikely that the little girl so affectionately calls her friends brothers were talking about Cedric, who agreed even earlier, but you shouldn't have expected anything else from the brazen thief from the very beginning. In any case, the girl says thank you for the day spent together, and waves goodbye. She still has one important thing to do, so they will meet one day, but much later in the same place in front of the house. The blonde hopes that her friends will not quarrel. In fact, the problem disappeared by itself, because as soon as the Duchess disappeared, the prince no longer found topics on which to talk with the guy standing behind, with a dissatisfied expression on his face. It's difficult, of course, to return to the palace like this, but the festival which this thief is about to see for the first time should be the most magnificent and solemn of all time, for several reasons. The knight almost died from the load that was placed on him. The lady's jokes were not the best, so all that remained was to remain silent and remain without reaction. He was asked to help with the training, and if he refused, Sen promised to remove the egg soufflé for a while. The man could never even imagine that he would be exploited so much against his will. From now on, he must be careful in front of strangers so as not to fall into a stupid trap again. Time flies very quickly in the courtyard. The hero noticed Artan's entire family getting ready. He didn't even have time to blink an eye, and already he had to go with the lady to the blessing festival, which was to take place on that day. Unfortunately, the knights need to be personally accompanied by His Imperial Majesty, so they will have to go to the festival without them. Karen and Cedric will have a great time, and the main thing is that they do not lose each other in the crowd. Before letting your daughter go, you need to interview her about emergency situations. If someone invites the girl to go somewhere with him, you need to say that the father will soon return, and beat up the one who tried to lure the beauty. If suddenly a person drags the baby somewhere by force or casts an evil spell, she will call Ondine and hit him on the legs with a strong stream of water before running away. Artan's family is responsible for the girl who wants to take care of the beauty. No matter what happens now or in the future, parents and brothers will always stand by. Eva has the right to have a lot of fun, and everyone is sure that she will return more than happy to tell what happened to her at the event. The beauty steps onto the paved road. There are a million tents around, and the smell of various wonderful foods is too delicious, which you want to swallow right away. The girl hopes that she will be able to enjoy it. At the festival, there are a lot of all sorts of people and various sights that are simply breathtaking. The eyes light up with the fire of joy, because the little girl has been thinking about what is happening for the last 2 weeks before she went to the place. The lady's purse has opened, so Karen recommends closing it until something needs to be put there. The heroine does not hear how her brother wants to ask for her hand in marriage, because it seems she has a festival in her head. Abelia looks around to find a shop. In front, you can see a beautiful sign and wooden doors the size of several people into which you already want to run. In front of the girl is indeed the very same pastry shop that the goodies thief recommended before she said goodbye to him. The cakes there are something that everyone must try. If this goes on, the gentleman will have to stand in line for an inordinate amount of time, thereby missing out on the opportunity to visit other places on the street. They need to quickly come up with something. If people find out who Eva is, they will immediately let her and Cedric skip the line. Charon takes something out of his pocket to use. He does not immediately answer the question of where he is going to go. The little girl points to the end of the line, saying that there is a place where they should stand. The man immediately asks for forgiveness. Everyone knew that the lady had good intentions and was kind in herself, but one could not think that she would be so simple. It's great that the festival is open to every person who wants to come to this place. The three of them will have to wait a little before going inside and enjoying the food. The baby managed to finish what she ordered, and after that, she can't stop smiling both in Phoenicia and at Ferrer's. The food was simply delicious, and even Cedric can agree with this. The hero nods his head so as not to upset his sister. It's simply amazing how much this young organism can eat despite its modest size as a child. Eva ate half of the place. After the conversation, the trio heads forward to another shop. A strange figure in a white robe appeared in the distance, so the girl clung to her brother, saying that she was scared. There are inhumans there who look terrible. At such moments, you can understand that the beauty is still a small child, because she cannot distinguish what is happening. People just put on masks, so the first thing Artina explains is that there is nothing to be afraid of. Surely those gathered will act out some kind of skit. The girl can come up to ask what exactly the performance will be about, and then take a seat if she wants to attend. The blonde looks at his hand, but does not see Eva standing there, who was holding on to him a few minutes ago. She probably disappeared while they were watching the performance, and this sends shivers of fear through his body. The girl was found in a split second standing near a shop with groceries and fresh fruits. The little girl scared those accompanying her, but since she didn't want to do anything bad, she simply asked for forgiveness, promising that this will not happen again. The beauty asks in return to buy her strawberries in sugar. This, of course, is not a problem, but the first thing Cedric asks is whether she still has the pocket money that her father gave her. Lowering her head, the little girl looks away somewhere to the side, trying to change the topic. It immediately becomes clear that there is nothing left of the word at all. The child could not spend such a large amount of money in just half an hour. As it turned out, the woman shared with her friends she saw children who needed to get food too, so without hesitation, she spent her last money in order to please them. So that the girl does not feel guilty, her brother praises her for such a good deed. It's great that Avelia revealed herself from different sides today, but I wouldn't want her to make more enemies with her friendliness. Cedric is not going to interfere because this will be the responsibility of his parents. He is going to ask his mother to talk about this topic. The Duchess probably does not understand that an ordinary person can live on that kind of money for a week. Karen leaves to buy water for himself and the master. The girl will remain next to the blonde while they wait. They are standing next to the store, so in a few minutes they will have time to buy themselves a kebab. Nothing bad will happen if the knight moves away for a while, leaving his post. The heroine nods when she is asked this time not to try to escape somewhere without the permission of her elders. Turning around, the girl hears some strange noise coming from the alley. Someone is screaming there, asking to be let go. A small child cannot help, but this does not mean that everything needs to be left as it is. A beautiful woman with blonde hair is trying to escape from the hands of a man who is several feet taller and stronger than her. They are arguing about something until he is not going to let go of his companion. The red-haired man makes an excuse that he came across someone on the way, and he just wanted to greet an acquaintance. He does not consider himself guilty, even if his girlfriend thinks completely differently. Screaming about why it is necessary to interfere in everything, the maiden gathers strength into her hand, which helps her push away the screams that Ifrit continue further. The heroine herself is already several thousand years old, but in fact, she stubbornly continues to behave like a stubborn sheep. There is no point in being childish when we are talking about something important. The one who is trying to explain something is called Ifrit, the Lord of the Spirits of Fire. The girl who has been resisting any action all this time is called Pursa. The mistress of the air spirits, they behave as if people around cannot notice them in this dark alley. The man knows exactly how the companion wanted to greet the Duchess. At best, she would have put a stamp on the child of Eliam because all the spirits know that this is her most cherished dream since her appearance. Not only the Supreme Lord has the right to leave seals, so the beauty does not think it is wrong for her to also put a seal. She seems to have already forgotten the words of Troy. Even if the energy of the spirits has become stronger. But this way, you can become a target. The blonde remembers every word because it will be extremely difficult to forget something like this. Despite how things are going, you can't think that problems will arise as if out of nowhere. In addition to the conversation in general, the girl again screams about her hand, which they can't let go of the baby, who managed to walk further, is standing almost a meter away from the couple, but they are too busy to notice it. A man does wrong things on a holiday when everyone should be happy. You can't leave a lady in trouble. So the heroine points them out to Undine, who should start a stream of water. Persa lights up with delight at the sight of the child. She sees the Duchess up close for the first time, but believes that she is even cuter this way. The man didn't think that the child they were arguing about would come to his friend's arms on his own. She couldn't just meet the mistress of the spirits. He tries to move the figure away, telling the little girl that nothing interesting is happening. Persa is not going to give up, so she sharply throws the young man towards the wall. The girl herself has heads, and therefore it will not be difficult for her to understand what is what and make the right decision to stay. In fact, a sweetie who can blow a villain away with one hand is more like a demon than a normal person who needs the help she can provide. Even so, the girl doesn't believe that such a beautiful sister can be a bad person. She smiles, asking to be called sweetly, making the princess believe. The girl did not get hurt anywhere, only thanks to the brave little knight who helped her free herself. Ifrit moves away from the wall, staggering, and says that he himself almost died trying to free himself. The blonde looks carefully at the man who opens his mouth to say something else. She screams that the scoundrel has miraculously survived, which of course cannot be ignored. Persa calms the little savior. In fact, they are good friends, but they just had a little fun. The red-headed one agrees because he understands that they certainly don't need even more problems that the little creature can cause. It's just that the hero himself looks cocky, and even this caftan of his allows others to think that in front of them is the spitting image of a demon. The Duchess nods her head. If it's all over, then she's going to leave because her brother Cedric probably can't find a place for himself while he's trying to look for his sister. She promised not to go anywhere. Besides the problem with the young man, Undine's friend doesn't seem to be feeling very well right now, judging by her frozen expression in front of her. As soon as the girl appeared in this alley, the couple immediately made it clear to the lower spirit that she should keep her mouth shut if it had surfaced. Who these two were, she would have been in trouble. The beauty turned out to be much more decisive than it initially seemed. Persa smiles, promising that they will definitely see each other at least once more. The next time they are together, the girl must call her new acquaintance sister, and she, so as not to let her down, waves her head in agreement. The beauty picks up Eva in her arms. She is going to take her to the main square because it is extremely dangerous for a little girl to walk alone in a crowded place. The King of Fire asks her not to behave like a scoundrel, not understanding what we are talking about. The girl blinks her eyes in surprise as a sign that she is definitely not going to change her behavior no matter what they say. Everything is done the other way around, but it is becoming more and more difficult to fight this. Having parted with the beautiful woman, the baby returned safe and sound to Cedric, and they scolded her greatly because earlier they had made one promise, not to run away anywhere without permission. I had to swear again that nothing bad would ever happen again and that everything would be in perfect order. In return, the girl asked that until the holiday was over, they would go to all possible places, and she could meet different people. It is not clear why, but the Duchess really wanted everyone who was at the event to receive the best. The Virgin enjoyed the delicious food, but now it was her turn to distribute the same wonderful food to everyone else. One of the grandmothers thanked her from the bottom of her heart when she was given a gift. The old woman, who doesn't have much left, wants to give the child one piece of advice as a thank you, which may become useful sometime in the future. The woman holds in her hands a luminous ball the size of her head. This is more of a prophecy than advice. In the past, it was widely known to people that when a star with flying hair appears above the clouds, 3 sons will be revealed. The huge mastiff will howl loudly all night long. Cedric listens carefully, deciding whether to believe the stories or whether it is unnecessary in the situation in which they find themselves. Packs of black wolves and red monkeys will sweep across the land, and snakes will fill the eastern coast. The sky will fall to the ground and shake, it is too strong. Huge waves will rise from the Hesse rivers and the Tiber Sea, and all the dirt of the earth will burn in the fiery hyena. In the end, a huge mastiff will grab the sun with its teeth, and the star protruding from behind the bound Tian Shan mountains will finally be crowned. The girl listened carefully to every word. She, of course, didn't really understand anything, but in order not to seem ignorant, she thanks from the bottom of her heart. The trio says goodbye to the old woman. The meaning of the prophecy is not clear to Cedric at all, but even if it does not promise anything good for Ava, it's okay, everything will be fine in any case, if you continue to think about the best. Even if it is a curse, the family will always be there to protect the baby. The blonde laughs, saying that most likely in the future she will be able to eat the whole sun. Everything will be as Avelia herself wants, because this option seems the most excellent. We must do everything so that this festival remains in my sister's memory as one of the happiest days in the world. The little girl looks with all her eyes at the passing people in carts that are slowly driving along the main street. They arrived just in time after everything that happened. The man, of course, heard that in order to get the coveted leaf of blessing, people from all over the country gather for the festival. But he could not even think that there would be so many of them. It's good that Artina is familiar with this place. They will need a lot of petals, and perhaps it will even be 100 thanks to the mercantile younger sister. Sharon was going to have an extremely hard time. Raising the lady in his arms so that she can see what is happening, the young man listens to options for how many sheets of paper can be taken. A brunette who is a loyal knight of the guard and must use his skills for their intended purpose. But this time, he had to pull out a basket of flowers. The couple wanted most of all to help the beauty. Most of all, Cedric wanted Eva to have an unforgettable experience during the festival and become that blessed child. Under the loud cries of those wishing, the beauty had to distribute the petals to those who wished. The man knew that the girl was literally a model of cuteness and someone who would not be missed. Almost sobbing, the blonde begs to sprinkle as many petals as possible so that she can get what she needs. Among all those present, it would be difficult for the priest to choose the Duchess. But this time the plan worked best because this is what everyone hoped for. Seeing how fervently this little girl prayed, the man couldn't help but make this little lady this year's blessed child. The hero promised that he would fulfill the little one's wish, so pointing to the carriage, he asks to come up to him so they can enjoy the atmosphere of the evening together. The Virgin is a little disappointed. Although she tries not to show it, she is asked to simply give everything away. But in fact, she just wanted to collect a lot of petals for herself to take back to the castle. Now it turns out that the little girl will have to work scattering petals to other complete strangers. She definitely didn't want it to turn out this way. But now it turns out that she has to blame Cedric, who turned out to be guilty. The guy said that he would help get 100 pieces of paper, and he quickly took the girl there and went outside to sit on a bench to rest. We can safely say that the brother began to irritate his sister. The priest greets the young lady before starting the distribution for everyone gathered. He asks to do one more thing, which will not even be as difficult as for a child. The girl must take off her hood and share her desires with everyone. She knows in advance what needs to be said, because she initially had a lot of desires which she ultimately did not realize. No one knew that the daughter of Duke Arton would really be here. The man is worried about what he has to do. The little girl does not believe that she can really tell everyone her every wish. She needs to press the button so that everyone can hear perfectly. The girl exhales to calm down and then moves closer to the microphone. She asks permission to scatter the leaflets and then take the basket in which they were lying. It turned out too loud, but the lady is not going to stop. She came to collect a lot of sheets and distribute them to all her relatives whom she loves very much. Smiles indicate that everyone on the street agrees to hand over the little thing to the beauty. The blessed child must begin his duties. Starting to throw roses, the lady wishes everyone who came to the festival today to eat a lot of all sorts of goodies and thoroughly enjoy the holiday, which seems to be the most ideal in recent years. Everyone could not restrain themselves, so they were worried, since Eva is not very strong. It seemed to Cedric that the leaves would simply fall into a heap near her, but in the end, It turned out very beautifully, as if the spirits of the air themselves were helping her. Of course, this strange feeling is far from new, but now it actually feels as if Avelia is blessed by spirits who have decided to help her in all her endeavors. The successful completion of the parade calmed those gathered. Artina blessed the remaining petals in the basket and returned home where her relatives were already waiting for her. Finally, the process of distributing the obtained jewelry began. Of course, the first in line were the beloved parents, then the two brothers and Karen, who were also no less important for the baby. The Virgin did not forget about the spirit friends and Ondine, since they always helped her when she was alone, and tried to make sure that the baby was not unhappy throughout her life. Even all the close family and cheerful knights received a few petals. In general, no one was left deprived in the process that the Duchess herself started. Of course, there were also friends who were not able to give the desired leaves, but this may happen sometime later, because today the lady was incredibly tired. The knight looks at the door and then at the others who are next to him. From now on, out of humble obedience, the end has come. From this moment on, everyone will stop considering Hugo von Arten as their goal, and in return, they will be replaced by someone else. The plan has been matured in their heads for a very long time, and it did not take too much time. Avelia, who is considered more defenseless, will become a new target, after which it will be possible to carry out the operation without any problems. The company simultaneously agrees. The girl immediately had a lot of things to do from the very morning she woke up. She went to give the leaves to her friends. Everyone had a very strange reaction to the gifts they received. If you make a wish, then it will definitely come true. And the little girl herself blessed what she had prepared, since she understood that this was one of the most important actions that she should have done. Everyone gladly accepted what was proposed and were very happy. It seemed to the child that there simply would not be a more joyful event even in the future. Everything changed because the relatives decided that in order to preserve as a souvenir what the Duchess gave away, it would be best to seal them in precious stones. The decision was one of the best. The knights found a way out of the situation and decorated their swords with stones. The petals looked like shiny dragon scales, which is why there was even a rumor that they had defeated a real evil animal. It cannot be denied that the company compared to the beauty herself are extremely strange people, and this became noticeable when they periodically behaved more than strangely. One of them fell to the ground and spinning begged for something important. Although he was not even going to say what exactly he needed, the girl did not understand what was wrong with him in the end. It seemed as if Alec had gone crazy. The knights almost beat him for scaring the Duchess, and she burst into tears. She could not decide what exactly was more terrible. If this goes on, the blonde will not only not take the side of the men, but will also send them further to the north, where their lives will be over. It seems they needed some help. So the little girl went to her father and made sure that they did not go anywhere. The girl does not know what happened next, and unfortunately, this does not change the situation. In any case, after that, every day of the beauty was full of happiness and fun that could not be contained. Meanwhile, the heroine grew rapidly and enjoyed her life. It seems as if childhood was irrevocably left in the past, and now when more worries have appeared, she has to fulfill her duties. Lillian really wanted to congratulate her friend on her birthday, so that day the beauty went to the Marquis of Cassis's estate for the first time on her own. Near the house, the heroine is met by a friend and her whole family. They immediately hug, talking about how much they missed each other until they were together in recent months, and finally they managed to see each other. Avelia has become so grown up before they saw each other that it is even breathtaking with admiration. The girl has long been so big that she herself can do everything that a person like her should. Cedric is laughing behind him. The lady has completely forgotten how last night she ran to her brothers to sleep because she was incredibly scared they are trying to shut him up so as not to reveal the secret. The girl thanks Mrs. Cassis for the invitation. They were incredibly happy when Eva was invited to visit, and because Lillian wanted to personally greet the baby. Now they probably threw some kind of party at Arten's house, so on the contrary, we should be grateful that they decided to come and found the time for this. The children immediately scattered in all directions as soon as the adults started a conversation among themselves. Thanks to the fact that Avelia still agreed to come, Lillian at least began to leave her room for a walk. It seems that the daughter still cannot come to terms with what happened in the past. Everyone knows that it is not the baby's fault. But nevertheless, it is difficult for her to try to remain calm. Since this child appeared in the castle, the condition has only gotten worse. Even protecting her like the apple of her eye, the lady fails to protect her daughter from atrocities, and she withers in both body and spirit. It would be great if Lillian was at least sometimes as cheerful as Evelia. I want her to someday be able to express her emotions again like other children do. The lady wants the best with all her heart, but at the same time she cannot stop being afraid that this will forever remain her pipe dream that will disappear. The blonde looks around the garden with delight in her eyes. Because it really seems perfect, the beauty seems to really like it. And since they've looked around, everything croissants are waiting for them in her friend's room. Shaking her head negatively, the Duchess suggests staying in the garden and not going anywhere there is a good breeze and wonderful weather outside. Ava doesn't care whether she gets her dress dirty or not. She rushes towards the pit, which has a whole bunch of dirt in it, but she doesn't seem to care at all what happens next, so she jumps. The baby can get dirty considering that all her clothes are a beautiful snow-white color. She doesn't care. So like a child, she rushes on thinking that this is not a problem. Lillian can stand on the sidelines, but she will see her friend causing such a commotion everywhere that it will be a good memory for a very long time. Even though the dresses will be dirty after a walk in the garden, it doesn't mean anything. The Marquise continues to stress herself out over such trifles again and again, not intending to put up with it. They will jump together to keep each other company. Lillian's whole face is already covered in mud, but this does not mean that she is going to stop. She continues to jump into the puddle. It feels as if after an impenetrable night, dawn has come again, and everything shines so brightly, like the friend herself, the cutie, is like the sun that saves you on a cloudy day. I can't believe that even she, being friends with the beauty, will ever become happy. The best usually doesn't always help, but in this case, everything is completely different. Nephira is a girl who occasionally visited the Marquis's estate. She is the same age as Lillian and was Cassis's illegitimate daughter who looked like him. The baby's mother was the heiress of a large merchant, but she died immediately after giving birth. One could only hope that one day it would be possible to return to a normal life. But everything changed. The man's daughter had a very hard time. Because of this man, she arrived at the estate saying that again they had not seen each other for a very long time. The girl said that she was an older sister and asked to call herself that. From the very moment Nephira realized who Lillian was, she slowly crossed all boundaries. The beauty was already sensitive to everything that was connected with her father. She treated it hard, like another proudly walking around the estate as if she were a legitimate daughter. Because of her meek disposition, Cassis could not put her friend in her place as they would have done in any other noble family. Because of what was happening, she gradually began to waste away in spirit and body. As soon as Ikrian found out about what was happening, he was ready to do everything so that his little sister would never suffer again. She just dreamed of living like any other normal child. Today something finally changed. Her friends came running, and the beauty immediately began to apologize for accidentally getting Avelia dirty near the puddle. Thanks to Alicia's daughter today, they had a lot of fun spending time together, smiling. She asks not to scold the baby, because today a lot of fun was revealed which had previously been hidden in the gardens of the estate. There was a glimmer of hope that perhaps something would work out. Ikrian was the one who first guessed what had to be done to make his sister feel favorable. In order for there to always be joy and happiness in your soul, Avelia must certainly be nearby, so that she often drops in to visit you. Need to come up with something that she will certainly like. Fortunately, thanks to Lillian, the mother did not faint when she saw what a mess had been safely arranged. Of course they were allowed to play together once, but in the end, nothing worked out exactly the way the adults wanted. First of all, Lillian needs to take medicine, so the main character had to wait for her a little. The baby was put on the sofa, which is located in the estate, because after active games, what she needs is a good rest at least for a short time. Sitting in one place is incredibly boring, so the heroine tries to entertain herself as best she can. They hand her a book about Chicken Lillian's brother, can read her a fairy tale, while they have to wait, because this will certainly brighten up the half hour that will have time to pass. The story will turn out to be special, because Ikrian was the person who independently wrote everything on sheets of paper and made the cover. The blonde will not have time to get bored if she looks at the pictures, which were also drawn inside, especially for children under 10 years old. The beauty sees a living fairy tale for the first time, so she screams in admiration about how perfect it is she can start, while her friend's brother also goes to check it out. The baby has already shown interest, but to whet it up, a friend says that he has several more similar ones books for which you can even come next time. As soon as the chicken went on a journey out of nowhere, a white heron appeared and swallowed it. Without an extra thought, it seems that this is where the end can be read, because there was not a word more. Something like this, of course, could not but disappoint, because in expectations there was something enchanting. In her 6 years, this is the first time Artina has seen such a fairy tale, although it is not so bad. The pictures were wonderful, and the magic spotlight made me interested, but there were a lot of flaws that I didn't like. Blue-eyed would like to look at other publications that I spoke about. Ikrian. Behind her, a strange young voice is heard, which the woman has never heard before. It seems that the lady was reading, but in this case the new acquaintance hopes that she did not interfere with the process. In front of her is really Mrs. Artina, who is known in social circles as the best of magicians. A beauty with purple hair bows to a curtsy, saying that she is the eldest daughter of the Marquis of Cassis named Nephira. She asks for forgiveness for the suddenness, because in fact she just wanted to get to know each other. It turns out that since this is the eldest child of the family, then Lillian is her younger sister. The strange thing is not that this girl lives on the estate, but the fact that Lillian, being the heroine's friend, never mentioned that there was no family in their family, only son and daughter. To clarify, you will have to ask more about it. The girl runs out of the room smiling and thanking Avelia for agreeing to wait while she takes her medicine. If she is hungry, they can go to snack on the cookies that the chef has already prepared. Lillian freezes when she sees her sister next to the chair on which the blonde is sitting, who smiling greets the marquise. Even in the words of greeting, a dangerous overtone is already seeping through, which makes it difficult to breathe. Lately, the little girl hasn't been leaving her room at all, and it's unclear how she got it into her head to hide such a cute face from everyone. She was incredibly sad without her sister, who usually could somehow entertain even with her presence. Turning to Ava, the beauty tries to say something, but she is not allowed to say even one word. Since this is the case, one can only hope that her friend will not mind the fact that the girl will also play with the Duchess, whom she sees for the first time. They will be interested, do different things in the garden. The blue-eyed girl doesn't see the problem, so she nods her head, thinking that being friendly and making new friends won't be difficult. She was reading the book that Ikrian gave her, but she already finished it. She would like to find the others, which the boy also mentioned earlier in the conversation. They are about to leave, but before that they wave goodbye. Lillian can wait outside the room on the same chair, for now her face shows sadness that is difficult to hide, and that only adults would understand. She hoped that at least one day everything would be fine. However, dreams remained, dreams that will not come true. Smiling an insidious smile which is almost imperceptible, the beauty decides to finish off her sister. She points to the necklace that is on her neck, saying that her father gave her such beauty for her birthday this year. We can consider that such a gift is the most delightful of all that have ever been received before. To end on what is said, the heroine asks what Lillian was given, but she silently looks at the floor. This year she was given some strange book of spells, in which not a single word was clear, since she certainly did not intend it for a child. In addition to what we are talking about, the girl decides to remind her that her father previously asked her to accompany the beauty when she goes out for the first time at a more conscious age. The two are the same age, so on the same day they can dress up in identical dresses, which the tailors will prepare as if they were twins. It seems that it will be very beautiful, because this will have a wonderful effect on the image and will help deal with the future appearance. The eyes close. Listening to this is simply unbearable. The woman is not at all afraid of Lily, as if she were nothing, and constantly calls her younger. Although no one has ever allowed her to do this, now going beyond the limits means nothing, because she boasts to her about the gifts of her father, who does not understand, which also hurts the feelings of the eldest daughter. It's impossible to listen to something like this, after which your heart just sank with anger, which you have to restrain on a constant basis. In comparison with the boring and inexpressive little girl, Nephira is bright, and easily wins everyone's attention, As soon as they appear at their event, no one will even look at Lily, leaving her in the shadows against her will. Even Avelia is gladly ready to share with the girl a book that she had previously kept especially for herself. The betrayal makes her heart ache, which is no longer able to simply endure all the insults and other problems. Beauty turns to leave, saying that you can do whatever you want because she doesn't care. Either way, Nephira clenches her fur coat with her teeth in anger and decides that she will not retreat so quickly until she is done with her mission. There is a slight chuckle that can be heard throughout the corridor. It seems that the father still has not told one important news, which now has to be conveyed to the eldest sister, who will do it in the most terrible way. Surely the news was hidden only because the daughter was not feeling well. Some said that she might not even make it to her debut, which would happen very soon. It seemed that the Marquis, heartbroken, had just brought Nephira here to the estate, so that everything would be a little better, slowly approaching her friend. The beauty smiles an ominous smile as she sees the frightened expression on her face. She was brought here only to make her illegitimate daughter legitimate after Lillian's death. She had been waiting for this for a very long time, but now everything will change. It's a pity that the girl finally started to come out and try to do something. For the official approval of the Marquis, the consent of His Imperial Majesty and the current head of the family, the Duke is enough. It seems that nothing complicated will happen, so now you can begin to act. Lily's hands are shaking, but Cassis continues to advance. Nephira pretends to apologize for putting it out directly like this, but despite the fact that they have one father, it is necessary to clearly clarify which of them is illegitimate and which is legitimate. This speech probably sounded extremely gloomy from the woman's lips. Of course, the illegitimate mother cannot compete with the ruler of these lands, and this is clear from the very beginning. She was just the heiress of a merchant, and therefore did not mean as much as the Marquis living on the estate. However, now the legitimate daughter in their family will be Nephira, who will also become the first and only, for now this is all she dreams of. So much as we know, dreams come true, so all that remains is to wait for the good moment. Since Lillian can no longer be sure that she will wake up tomorrow and she has to take a lot of medicine, it means that the girl will take her place and become the best daughter that Cassis could only dream of. He will be incredibly happy. Even Avelia herself will play with joy with another person instead of a girlfriend. You need to understand that the heroine is always worried that someone would pay even the slightest attention to her. While the eldest is surrounded by love on all sides, she is much more suitable for the role of her own daughter. After the words about the Duchess, a book flies into the head of the beauty while the blonde yells at her. She is weaving some intrigues that lead the family into a terrible situation. Of course, Nephira wants to be officially recognized, but she seems to be completely crazy. The Duchess does not agree with the decision, which is why it will never be made. The hand clenches into a fist with anger. In order to take your place in high society, you need to build friendly relations with Ava, but this time a mistake was made, and now they are literally becoming enemies. In fact, nothing terrible will happen, because there is only one last chance left. Fix it. Anyway, official recognition depends only on the Emperor and His Majesty the Duke. She laughs, saying that the girl's opinion is not needed in this matter. This concerns only His Grace Hugo, so from now on the ladies will be ignored as much as possible. Even without the help of the blonde, it will be possible to deal with all the problems as they arise. She has already built a plan that will not allow some little guy who is tired of a bad attitude towards his girlfriend to fall apart. The lady did not understand the situation, and this was her biggest mistake. The beauty's father always says that it is she who illuminates the path of the Arton family, and if she does not believe she can check it herself, Lillian is forbidden to touch because she has not even done anything and is trying with everyone's strength to be calm. Nephira grabs her sister's hand, who quietly pronounces her friend's name. I suppose she's glad that someone took her side, but it's hard to believe that someone could love a girl who only does what she does, reveling in her suffering in her room. After her death, no one except Avelia will miss the one who can never be returned. Laughter is heard behind her, and then a terrible pain spreads throughout her body. The Duke's youngest daughter rushes at her friend and grabs her by the hair, thanking her from the bottom of her heart that she turned in the right direction, allowing her to do what was started. They will still see who will die, so Nephira can already prepare to give a funeral speech. The lady can no longer restrain herself because she has heard enough of what this girl was saying for half an hour. No matter what anyone says, Lillian remains involved in the Cassie's family. She is a much brighter, kinder, and cooler person than that illegitimate daughter who came from nowhere, and is now shaking her rights in a place where absolutely no one will be happy with her, like only they will find out the truth. The hands still do not let go of the hair, which is already falling out in clumps. If the lady even once says something about the legitimate daughter of the Marquis, then not a single hair will remain on her head. On the same day, something else happened. A small incident in the Cassis house, fortunately, was quickly hushed up, thanks to the appearance of the Duchess, who helped with this. She could not leave her daughter unprotected. After putting Nephira in her place and returning home, the maiden hoped for a better day, but the rest of the day did not go very smoothly. She told all her friends about the girl who treated Lily badly, and also mentioned that she pulled out her hair and then called Silpha to teach him a lesson properly. Mom said that violence is bad, and scolded her after she found out all the details of what happened. The blonde wants to cry from the injustice that overtook her, because in fact, she was just trying to help as much as possible. The demon nods, saying that this is commendable, of course, but the Duchess is also right. Mom cannot be changed, so next time it will be best to do such things only in secret from her. The thief for the first time agreed with Agares and asked to be careful. Instead of going to the hut to play with friends, it turned out that the blonde went to some marquis to play with his daughter. If you put it that way, it really doesn't look very good. Basically, the little girl went there for the sake of Lillian. But not really. She was also attracted there by fairy tales that her friend's brother named Ikrian made especially for her. Both freeze in surprise without saying anything for several minutes. It's strange that it was so easy to lure a girl to her with fairy tales. She is the kind of child who is always ready to do something like this purely out of interest, but I would also like to know why she calls him brother. The little girl does not immediately understand what exactly is required of her, but in the end he just asks again. He is Lillian's older brother. But what he just said sounded like he was a blood relative of the Duke. Not allowing the beauty to get the book back, the young man continues to find out more details that help build a logical chain. Agares joins in the interrogation about what is happening because, in fact, at first he did not notice anything strange. That boy is very good-natured and smart, so something that should have been kept behind his teeth came out on its own. On top of all this, that man is the youngest among the wizards, like a rising star. He would never think of stealing another person's goodies out of the blue, and she is sure that in a few years he will become as cool as his father, because he deserves all the best. The prince does not understand that he has already done this, but everything is very clear. He became the one who stole the goodies. There is nothing more to add, so the baby almost starts crying from how much she worries about what is happening. Ace is just a rabbit, so you won't be able to find a problem in him no matter how you look and from which side you look. The highest demon and lord of the Eastern Underworld has definitely become someone completely insignificant. And this only makes it even more sad the lady doesn't think that I might add at least something more. The thief smiles because at least more than 2 words have been said about him. The young man is at least called Ace in addition to the rabbit, and he will forever remain the one who steals sweets. Usually even the servants are treated better, not to mention this and that significant. The blonde man does not agree with the statement that he is forced to listen to it. Seems in the opinion of the hero, it is better to have an association with some kind of animal than just an ordinary insult. Of all that was said, the brunette was only offended by the fact that he was once again called a base instead of a demon. The girl was just joking, so she asks for forgiveness for the fact that in the end she simply quarreled her friends with her words alone. Having noticed an eagle in the air, the hero very quickly changed his face, saying that it was time for him to leave before the acquaintance leaves. The little girl waves her hand, hoping that they will see each other very soon again. The face turns slightly red because of the words spoken, but the man pulls himself together. It's strange that it still hasn't occurred to his friend to ask her name. From now on she can call him Louis. His name is known in the Empire, Therefore, speaking it out loud, he understands that very soon the squeal of the Duchess will be heard, recognizing him as the Crown Prince. The reaction turned out to be the opposite of what the young man pictured in his head. The heroine is surprised how such a robber like him even thought of throwing his name around. Probably even Agares heard everything, and if so, then the guards may well catch him. It is for this reason that the girl never clarified anything that could be heard. Although in fact, she was very interested, the man remembers what he said at the first meeting, but did not think that the girl would believe in those nonsense for so long and be so naive. It doesn't matter what was said anymore, so you don't have to worry immediately. After the words, the hero disappeared without saying goodbye again. A little bunny appeared behind him, who raised his eyebrow as if he had expected something like this from the very beginning. The lady tearfully asks not to tell anyone, after all she doesn't want her friend to be caught and sent to jail. The brunette chuckles, since it is not a fact that there will be even one person who could catch the Crown Prince. But this is not so important. The man is interested in more interesting details, because it seems that the girl can now even summon Silpha. The hero holds out a book with something written on the pages and asks if the lady can read it. He urgently needs to check something to make sure. After the words Casa and Noah, a terrible sound is heard around, and then a bright light spreads, which most likely it is more noticeable outside the clearing with the hut. The lower spirits immediately appeared as soon as the beauty called them, while not forgetting to be afraid of the demon who stands in front of them. The blonde is surprised that she has talent, although it seems that this was known in advance on the very first day of her first year. There is definitely no talent in fencing, but there is no doubt about it in another area. It doesn't look at all like a normal manifestation, but it seems that someone is helping the girl. An ordinary person would never even dream of this. The lady begins to get tired, but realizing that she needs to follow what was ordered, she then reads one word after another, even if they remind more of names. There's even more light around, and it becomes clear that this is the power of the spirits. The beauty begins to jump for joy because she summoned not only the average water spirit Ondine, but also Silaf. Now she also believes that she has a natural talent to rule spirits who will help her with everything else. At such a young age, this little girl already has such powerful spirit energy. Damn the ruler, because no matter what problem arises, he neglects absolutely everything. The man does not know how to react to this, but understands that he needs to deal with the Supreme One once in order this never happened again. The demon is not going to retreat this time, even if this option seems the most acceptable, given the way things are. A smile slightly touches his lips as pictures of a future duel emerge in his head. Recently, the super lazy writer of fairy tales has finally taken up production again, which stopped without his work. Just looking at Lewis's homework makes his eyes bleed, because he hasn't read or seen such horror for a very long time. The baby goes to visit Lillian again, in order to spend time with her. The brothers ask not to stay there until late. She must not forget about dinner with her parents. Otherwise, without food, you can end up with a fingernail. And the maiden, of course, doesn't want this in recent weeks. She has been constantly complaining about how much she wants to grow at least a few centimeters. It's been a while since the whole family gathered at one table to just enjoy each other's company, and the smiles that will be given. The girl is going to quickly read a fairy tale after a walk with her friend, and immediately return to the estate without delay. It seems that today will be a very fun day indeed, which only makes the anticipation skyrocket. The blonde flips through the pages and then puffs indignantly and throws the publication onto the table next to her. There is not even a quarter of what was there before, and now this makes it strange and uninteresting to read. The fairy tale ends too abruptly, and the writer says nothing about it. It's obvious that he doesn't care. Ikrian is already completely lazy. A good thrashing will not hurt him, which will help him perk up and try to do at least something useful in relation to his friends who need to be thought about. Lily also looks in surprise, already mentally feeling sorry for her brother, who himself screwed up. The beauty is not going to contradict her friend, so she simply hands over the publication. Since the Duchess is going to beat Cassis, it would be best to make it his own book, so that it is more convenient. Good ideas always come to mind completely unexpectedly. The girl jumps up from her seat, pointing forward, as if she is the leader. We must hope that everything will go perfectly. Another thought comes to mind. Therefore, turning back, the woman asks her friend if everything is fine at home. The last time was extremely scandalous, but if the situation improved, it was all probably worth it. The couple hadn't seen each other for a couple of days, but all the signs were already there. The beauty didn't even look at the book and was constantly twirling her hands as if she was thinking about something terrible, something that was bothering her greatly. But she just couldn't tell fully and trust others. Sometimes it is much easier to experience actions when you are silent and do not share details with anyone. The blonde promises that she will definitely deal with all the problems, whatever they may be, because the girl is the dearest person among her friends. The woman must remember that girl Nephira, who then behaved so badly that they had to pull out her hair and try to make her life worse. Next month is my father's birthday, and every time he is simply delighted with the prepared gift from his eldest daughter. Of course, the youngest is uncomfortable with this because she doesn't want the impudent one to receive a lot of attention instead of her and her brother now. It became clear that there was concern. This time the woman wants to prepare a gift that will surpass everything she can give, so she's racking her brains since it's extremely difficult to come up with a good option. Nothing comes to mind. Although several days have passed since the beauty started, think about it more often than usual. Now everything has become clear, and the friend is incredibly happy about this. The blonde offers to go together to buy that very cherished thing. Both of them may not have the best taste, but help in such a matter will never be superfluous. Lillian does not believe that now the task will really be a little easier. In order to decide on the best option, you definitely need to go to the city and see what and how things are going there in general. Because in the end, this is the best option of how accomplish what was intended. The duo decided to keep this a secret from the Marquis, since otherwise the surprise would not work, which of course would mean a worldwide failure. Karen does not know what the lady is planning, but he realized that they need a city which in principle can be arranged no problem. The woman jumped up in fright and surprise. The man asks for forgiveness for sneaking up from behind, because in fact he just wanted to help. Somehow it seems that the girl was much more frightened than her friend, since the young man is obliged to protect the Duchess. Then a short journey, or to be more precise, escape, he is obliged to prevent he hopes for understanding. Karen is too strict, but he considers this a kind word, because in his profession it is important perhaps the couple will not mind if several knights accompany them. During their absence, the lady is categorically against it, because the secret will not remain so unless because crowds around the city various rumors will spread. In addition, everything needs to be done before dinner, so there is very little time left. Lillian asks not to worry because the shopping street is almost around the corner. Nothing will happen in half an hour while her friends are away from the estate. Now the brunette is truly beginning to think about what can be said in response to the words. There is even an imperial palace nearby, where it is unlikely to be as safe as in the estate. The girls will try to be as careful as possible. Since this is the case then, it would simply be wrong to agree the hero went with the mistress, because the presence of one person she allowed somehow that could be done for the first time. You can see the mistress get out into the city like that. The feelings inside remain strange, but for sure, because of this joy will remain in the soul. The trio enters an alley that leads to the exit to a shopping street. The darkness makes them feel somehow uncomfortable, but in the end, they don't have to choose either. As if there was something dark at the far end, the demon that was once encountered in the war suddenly showed up on this narrow street. Now, one can begin to regret that they went to this place in the first place, because as it turns out, this was a fatal mistake that was made. Within a second, the hero reacted and grabbed the hilt of the sword. He shouts to the Duchess that she should grab Lily and run back to the estate together. While the man defends himself, he is attacked first, since they still have omissions after the battles. The demon laughs while he tries to hide the enemy somewhere in the abyss of the energy that gathers around him to run with his tail between his legs. This is so Artanovsky that most likely no one is surprised by this. Any more, the hero continues to smile, looking back to the side just once. Little children who look just as scared. The knight should not think that the demon will allow those who fled to hide. Eva has no right to leave a friend in trouble. So he steps forward and calls Silaf and Undain, who gathering together form a beautifully colored strong funnel, picking up the body of the girlfriend who had previously tried to stop the main one heroine. Undine is given an order to take the beauty to a safe place, where it will be much easier for her. The second spirit remains with the beauty, who will not allow him to escape so easily. Silef's help will be needed on the spot, since fighting an incomprehensible demon will be extremely difficult if confronted alone. The brat laughs disgustingly again. It's funny to watch that the undergrowth decided to call on her average spirits, who supposedly should help her a lot. Now it became clear why they ordered her to be killed, because she has some certain powers and character that makes her disgusting. Karen throws the enemy aside and shouts to the lady that she should leave quickly because staying nearby could cost her life. The man will not be able to hold the demon for long because he does not have enough strength despite what a wonderful knight and fighter he is. Artina asks to stop, but in a more strong-willed voice in order to understand that her intentions are serious. It has never been seen that the Duchess leaves her knights in trouble. She will stand to the end, even if she is simultaneously forced to run away and evaporate. The blonde apologized in the hope that she would not be heard, but in fact she has other thoughts about this jumping to the side. The girl asks to cover her while she moves closer to the offspring. The girl will cover Karen in return, so that in this way they could create the perfect team. Even earlier, the heroine told Undine that if she ever had to fight with someone like the rabbit Agares, the Lord of Spirits would definitely show up. But this time, he didn't come again. She and the knight would somehow cope together, otherwise the mistake would cost their lives. The gaze turns to the demon, who without lowering his sword begins to slowly approach the couple, who are standing a few steps away from him after everything. One night or when there are two of them, there is absolutely no difference, because they still will not have a chance, which should be realized that in order to cope with the demon, the Lord of Spirits will be needed. Within a second, Silef is thrown somewhere to the side. The little girl asks if he is okay, and realizes that the enemy is right in some way, because they will never feel sorry for him just like that. Scarlet liquid begins to come out of the mouth, and coughing is heard throughout the alley. Probably this is the price for calling different spirits for help. Catching a running animal is a great pleasure. The only happiness is that it is so easy you can apologize for troubles, but in return, the man guarantees that the brat will die quite quickly. Lillian is rushing along the road on a horse. She has arrived to His Majesty to say that an emergency has arisen in the capital that needs to be resolved. The girl immediately says that today on the shopping street in the alley that leads to the Marquise's estate, something so terrible happened that it is difficult to describe in words. One of the demons appeared there. They say he attacked the daughters of the Marquise and the Duke, and therefore now they are in danger. No one will help them, if not the Duke. Karen found himself in the house within half an hour. He sits on the floor and clears his throat, while they ask him if everything is okay. The boy was seriously wounded, which requires treatment. Only thanks to the help of the lady, the guy managed to get out of the demon's clutches unharmed. But Eva was dragged back there. It seems that she was still kidnapped by that person. The demon was not noticed in the war between demons and humans. If they want to find out something about him, they will have to turn to others because any delay could be fatal for the mistress. The emperor announces that the state meeting is over for today. All the knights in the palace will be sent to search for the duke's daughter, and for now they themselves must start looking for defectors. Everyone in the castle will make every effort to ensure that the baby is not harmed. Eva will be home in a little while, and she will be given the help she is counting on. The beauty closes her eyes. Trying to back away, she begs the demon not to come a meter closer, and tries not to cry so as not to seem weak. A woman begs for someone to save her, while the hand of someone who is going to cripple her reaches out to her. Her eyes open, but in some other place that is unfamiliar to her. Starting to clear her throat, the blonde silently complains that she will never return because no one knew that the consequences could be so terrible. The Duchess rolls down the slope that leads to the place where she now lies, before the battle. She does not even have the strength to run away from the attacker, although before it was as easy as shelling pears. In this wasteland, there is not even a place to hide, so there will be 0 point. Trying to sit up, the maiden reminds herself that she must never lose consciousness. The man smiles, feigning joy that the baby has woken up. She can't even imagine how many nerves he's lost, wondering whether the girl is alive or not. The beauty was brought to this wasteland to personally kill her. It would be a shame if the future Duchess handled it on her own, writing out her own sentence. There is no point in wasting yourself on trifles and trying to get up, because anyway you will have to die by killing a woman. The demon will finally be able to pay off the contract, and since these are plans for today, they should hurry up. In fact, not everything is so simple, because in this case the young man also cannot escape death in the person of her parents or brothers, who will not just leave it. Ignoring the words, the hero boasts to himself that he brought the child to this place because he will be able to enjoy everything to the fullest. Before the blue eyes are taken out, everything will be visible there. The man can't wait to see how with every broken bone, life will leave a bright look. The baby should just be patient a little until it's all over. The demon is about to start from the feet. She closed her eyes. The maiden thinks about Seth, who was lying down to prepare food for the 3-story house. And in the end, she won't even see him. The guy's hand flies to the side, and he questioningly asks the one who arrived to respond. A second later, the beauty finds herself in the arms of her old acquaintance from the hut. Agares asks for forgiveness. It seems he was too late, but it doesn't matter because he got there just in time. Snuggling closer to the bunny, the girl begins to sob. She is very scared and in pain because of the blows that were dealt to her earlier, and from which now everything is only much worse. The beauty really sincerely thanks once again for saving her. The brunette promises that this will never happen again. Falling asleep in a sweet sleep, the heroine no longer hears or sees anything. The time has come for the scoundrel who attacked to answer for all his actions and words spoken. The man learns what true anger is, but besides this he must take revenge for all the humiliations that the scoundrel forced Agares to go through. The demon screams, asking why his own is attacking him. He made a lot of effort to drag the baby to this place, but out of the blue an acquaintance appeared who would not even allow him to conduct experiments. The lady was lucky, of course, to have a friend who obviously cares about her too much. His specialty is finding whatever the girl wants. Even with such abilities, the demon would not have known anything about the girl's disappearance if the half-baked prince had not told about what had happened. To put it bluntly, the young man is very upset. The ruler of the eastern underworld is so weak that he won't even do anything to him. How old was this rumor that it seemed that this whole topic had passed a long time ago, while the man fled to the east, where he was experiencing a storm in the center. The demons were waging a real bloody war. Now they are stronger than anyone else. Standing in front of the brunette is Zippar, who is the 16th of all 72 Lemegeton demons known to society. Now the hero will have to personally see the whole difference between them, and from this he will definitely not escape anywhere. He simply has no choice from what is available. The young man abruptly tears off the enemy's leg and then closes his mouth. Somehow he managed to do this with just one movement of his hand. It is impossible that Agares had that much energy. The coolness began which came with the wind, so the hero spreads his wings. The baby needs to be protected so that she does not accidentally wake up. The wind also calmed down. Even if the person is the highest demon, it is not clear how he manages to subjugate the elements outside the underworld. I can't believe that this is the one they think about. The young man promises to keep his mouth shut and not tell anyone if the demon is spared. He will be devoted to the head to the end and will make sure that everyone worships him. It seemed that the hero was literally lying around like a stupid stump, but as it turned out, he was fully aware of what he was doing and what consequences could follow. Still, despite the words of forgiveness, this does not change anything in the current situation. He tortured the baby and forced her to beg for mercy in order to survive. His Majesty arrived in the Deadlands. I can't believe that Eva is really in such an abandoned place because she should have been somewhere else. There can be no doubt because the ruler of the eastern underworld himself reported where the woman was along with him. He saved her and made it in time. I wonder why the demon helps people. After the First War, he was not at all interested in the human race. But now he has changed. The main thing is that everything is fine with the girl. The brunette emerges from the snowstorm, spreading the wings that protect them. He sees that obviously no one is in a hurry to help, and it is not known what would have happened if the hero had not appeared on time. One of the knights shouts that the demon in front of them has kidnapped the lady, so they should all prepare for a battle to take the girl. Everyone can see that the man is hugging the baby, so the king orders him to stand still in silence. The crown prince desperately asks where his girlfriend is. and if everything is okay with her. It's good that the girl is completely fine. And that's all because the friend was looking for her and made sure that she was completely fine. Both exhale with relief because this is exactly what is important. The Duke will not question the ruler of the underworld about how he became friends with his daughter or how he found out where she was being kept. The hero simply asks to give him the girl, and then he will be forever grateful that's why the girl was found. So there's no point in worrying about it. The demon expects to receive a generous reward because these are their principles, and they cannot be neglected. The prince shushes him because he doesn't like this one. The blonde promises that he will get everything he is asked for. He knows that this will not be a problem, but in return, the brunette asks for a friend, which is already quite simple. At first it seemed to Hugo that they wanted to make friends with him, but this is about Ava. He doesn't have to accept the hero, but it's better not to interfere with their communication. They won't make any plans with the young lady because she's already suffered enough. Everything will be fine with them, and the conflict will end. This one petal, which ends up in the hands of the baby as a gift, is sufficient payment for everything that has happened and will happen. It's time to rush back to the castle to put the girl to bed. The mother looks at her daughter smiling and thanking her for being able to return her safe and sound. The ruler is already tired of listening only to good things, so he refuses. He did not find the beauty for this reason. If the family is truly grateful, the best option would be to do something about the group behind them before the guest goes crazy with them, because there is too much noise. The knights shout that the lady passed out due to something suspicious. The blonde nods, agreeing that the demon definitely has bad manners given his behavior. If the prince had not told about the kidnapping, the handsome man would not have even gone to look for the girl. He should be reminded that it was he who settled the demon in the capital. The Duke asks for more details. He, being the highest, had to monitor those who were subordinate to him and their behavior. His Majesty should have seen that the one who kidnapped Ava did not act alone. If there is no benefit, the animals will not even lift their fingers. Either the attacker made a deal with someone from the human world or something else before throwing around words. It is better to think about your subordinates too. The most important thing is that Evelia is safe. What she needs most now is peace and quiet. It's already quite late, so the Duchess, smiling, suggests they go home. Reasons to stay immediately appear because the demon has found the beauty. The prince reported this, and the third emperor in general. The Duke doesn't care about everything said. His lordship points his finger at the door. Lillian, making puppy dog eyes, asks if it is really possible to stay at least a few more minutes. They overcame a lot together to find Ava. The brothers shouldn't leave either because in the end, they are the ones who will be there when something goes wrong. The knights even brought a bear, which the lady adores. But in the end, they didn't manage to kick anyone out. Then they still have to go home since it's already quite late. The prince turns his gaze to Ikrian. He didn't like him from the very beginning, so the hero asks if he is going to stay in this place. If you think so, then the boy did nothing to find his girlfriend, so he has no right to be around. Lily intervenes to stand up for her brother when everything happened. He was not even close. Everyone knows that it is simply impossible to resist the highest demon alone. As Eva's closest friend and as her very first acquaintance, Virgo can say something important about the fact that it is still possible to stay close. The brunette intervenes in the middle of the conversation, interrupting the beauty's speech. She imagines herself to be someone unknown because it was the demon who was her first friend. The small fry should have thought before coming forward. Ikrian believes that the one with whom a mental connection is established is more important. He has been writing fairy tales for his mistress lately. The blonde interrupts the conversations, which are becoming more like a skirmish, by saying that Ava's only legitimate friend is actually Lillian. Arkin turned out to be extremely eloquent. It is not clear why Mom mentions the future, but then their baby will have a groom, and it will be wonderful. All three freeze and then begin to shout that the mistress should not suffer such a fate. Evelia will decide anyway since she has such a right. Alicia wants to say something else, but noticed that His Highness was suspiciously flushed and is now trying to justify himself while stuttering. The boy was not always like this, but he was simply asked too harshly and he did not expect anything to happen. His reaction could be quite logical. The family's plans did not include sending their daughter to the imperial palace, so it's not worth wasting your nerves in vain. The local mediocrities won't drag Eva away with them. The demon said that it was better to give the baby to him. To raise the knight squeezes the girl's bear, shouting that the animal should know its place and be silent. The young man will never forgive such a disrespectful attitude, so he is going to challenge the hero to a real dual summoning force. He throws his body aside. He himself is called a blockhead. But no one probably heard what was said earlier. Everything that was said before could already be heard. The knight is almost crying, pointing to his mistress's favorite toy. Now it's just terribly painful to look at because there's not much left of it. Even when the evil demon tortured the girl, she did not shed a single tear. But now, having stood up and seen her baby, she is determined to simply cry with all her might. As soon as she saw what happened to the bear, it was no longer possible to restrain herself. Eva screamed and begged to fix the thing before it got worse. The girl doesn't even know the reason and what happened after she calmed down. She would like to, but then she simply passed out without remembering it. According to the mother, the father very kindly escorted everyone home who had gathered in the room. It was very much in his spirit, so the beauty was not even surprised when she woke up. After the incident, rumors began to circulate in the house that in one of the rooms, someone had broken through a wall approximately the size of a man. The girl received a letter from Lily, which said that she had begun to study magic. The girl was studying with a great magician, and she could only wait until she became a mega cool sorceress. Important news. It seems like one of the best news in recent times. In an amicable way, it would be nice to go and personally congratulate your friend, but for now this is not possible. The beauty accidentally injured her leg, but now it seems to her that she cannot even take a step outside the first aid post. She has been stuck with the attending physician for more than 4 days. In addition to her parents, everyone who was not too lazy visited the heroine every day. And in this endless turmoil, there was not a second of peace. It was simply impossible to tolerate this anymore. Having come up with a solution, the blonde agreed to say that she wanted to go see how Karen was doing after everything that had happened. For days he had been having the same dream almost constantly. If the lady had only known what danger Karen would face, she would have done everything differently. She would never have taken the guy to go with them to get a gift. The personal bodyguard is in poor condition, but if things were different, the boy would feel as cheerful as usual and would also be able to smile. The knights understand perfectly well that Karen committed a monstrous crime when he failed to fulfill his duty, that is to protect the beauty. The man, of course, did something monstrous, but of course we need to ask for his mercy because he did not try to make things worse. The blonde waved her hand, even assuring that he had not committed any crime. She herself was the one who ordered the young man, so it can be understood that he was not guilty. The lady, as we know, is also responsible. Knights must also cover each other's backs. The meaning of the family's code of honor cannot simply be forgotten. The heroine does not allow anyone to have the right to offend a guy who of course did not deserve it. The lady is young, but she thinks like an adult. Nodding his head, one of those gathered says that he is sure that the crown prince wanted to become different, precisely because he discerned infinite wisdom. To save the beauty, the young man personally sought out the ruler of the eastern underworld and asked him for a favor in saving his friend. Even the mere fact that a man decided to turn to this demon for the sake of a girl already says a lot about the relationship between the couple. Not only does Louis go looking and tell the demon, but the bunny pretends that he was there and helped like everyone else. There were always 2 people near the lady who did not change. The baby quickly ran out, heading towards the brothers. The impudent thief of supplies was indeed a royal person running into the room. The lady asks with a cry about their country. Everything seems to be in order, but then the point of stealing the cookies is not clear. If someone pokes a member of the imperial family, he will probably be immediately sent to prison. The girl hopes that she will not be executed for this. In a shaking voice, she says that perhaps she will go to her shelter. She had some important business to attend to. The woman calls for Louis in the clearing, but quickly realizes that he is not there. It is quite normal when everything is like this, because princes usually have a lot of different things to do. It is unlikely that a man always has time to be in the same place. The best solution would be to visit this place a little later. A familiar voice is heard behind him. The hero is trying to catch his breath from the fact that he was probably running and talks about how much he worried about Eva after what happened. Zepar disappeared. This is reported to the one who asked him to carry out the order. This does not matter since the goal was achieved in any case. Now we need to find some self-interested idiot so that with his help we can destroy the remaining obstacles to doing something important. After the young man was driven out of the Duke's estate, All he did was spend his days in anxiety and worry. He wanted to know how his girlfriend was doing. If only there was a way to find out more. And then it would be much easier. We just have to hope that everything is fine with the girl and she is on the mend. So the days passed waiting for Lagro to come and report that Eva had paid a visit. 4 days later, her cherished wish came true. The prince was so happy that he could finally see his precious friend. He doesn't know what to say, but he plans to stay close longer. The virgin does not believe that the young man is really the heir to the empire. These statements are out of the blue. He did not even have the thought that the beauty already knows about everything. Of course, the blonde realized that someday this day would come, because even though Eva was still a child, she was the eldest daughter of the Artin family, and this could not be ignored so frivolously. The baby falls silent, starting to apologize. She probably should have said, "His Highness," or something like that, and she didn't. The man nods his head sadly. He hoped that they could be at least a little more ordinary friends without obligations. There is not a single person in the whole country for whom the boy is not a future emperor or a future source of power. That's why I had to arrogantly believe that this time it would be possible to become truly close friends with Eva. It was time to get rid of a drop of hope. The young lady is thinking about how to apologize for her behavior. Instead of ending the friendship, the girl asks if the guy will use his position to stop her from throwing pine cones at him. It all started with the prince himself being the first to take and eat the supply of sweets and cookies. But they are now close friends, so it doesn't matter anymore. The guy freezes in surprise because it seems that his girlfriend only cares about the fact that she will no longer be able to mock him in every possible way in her own ways. The blonde screams, asking if everything will really be different. Now you might think that the young man didn't want to be friends. That's why he behaves this way. The hero agrees to continue being friends, but everything is not that simple. If he wants, then he must sign some kind of agreement. One day a lady was hanging around in the kitchen and overheard that in order to prevent the complete ruin of the family, they went around signing documents every time. The hero tries to hold back his laughter and nods his head, saying that the lady will also need a copy, so she will have to rewrite everything just once. The lady has problems with spelling, of course, without proper justification. And seal this agreement is unlikely to be valid, but the young man is not able to refuse. In the last paragraph, the prince is allowed to write whatever his soul desires, so the beauty advises him to think it over carefully. Taking the piece of paper, the heroine is glad that now the rules come into force. No one would have thought that the crown prince would turn out to be such a simpleton. When a friend enters into agreements with others, he must first show his acquaintance so that there is no concern for the country. The voice of a demon is heard from the tree. If the couple doesn't mind, then he wants to wedge in, since the little conversation between the children is already over. The brunette has something, but first he asks how the beauty is feeling. The little girl describes how she feels. Everything is fine thanks to Ace, because it was he who found the beauty and made sure that she stayed alive and was now standing here in the clearing. The baby doesn't remember whether her teddy bear was taken away, but the hero assures that it was only to fix it and return it to its place. The boy really tried, but now it seems that it didn't work out very well. He holds out an unsightly toy of strange sizes and proportions. If the lady doesn't like it, he has already bought another toy that looks exactly like a bear. This is something like a sign of forgiveness for what happened before. The blonde laughs loudly and then takes the thing away for a hug. It's over. Everything is fine, and she thanks for such a wonderful gift. Today is a great day because the beauty received the bear and even bargained for freedom from Louis. Now they will never have secrets from each other. Now the prince has nothing to hide anymore. And this is absolutely not what he wants. Now he just wants his girlfriend to always be with him. The girl announced that she wanted to come visit the palace. The hero promised to ask his father. But for now, the beauty is keeping an eye on Karen, who is still recovering. Silaf watched the guy too. Expelled spirits do not disappear but move to the spirit world. But he returned quite quickly after the call. The friend remained okay. The heroine was very worried because he got a lot of trouble last time through no fault of his own. To meet the rulers of all the waters of this world, it is necessary to take such a risk with the demon, so the ruler did not show up that time. The girl realizes that she has too many things to do, but this time she decided that she wants to go to visit Louis and tells the Duke about it. The man and the boy's father seem to have a good relationship, so everything should work out. But something seems to be going completely wrong. The reaction was completely different than expected. The hero was skeptical about the fact that some brat was hitting on his daughter. Smiling, Hugo holds back his anger, hoping that his acquaintance will at least tell him what family he is from. He will sort it out with him himself when he can talk. The baby is clearly surprised that her father does not know the prince. But her brother intervenes in the conversation, and he understands who we are talking about now. The girl meant His Highness Crown Prince Ludwig the boy, so simply introduced himself to Ava, but in fact it was him. This is only worse. The only reason why Carlyle has been sending various invitations at every opportunity lately is that he is trying with all his might to bring his son closer to the Duke's daughter, but such a trick is not worth falling for. The Emperor behaves like a pathetic coward, and this means that you need to talk to him. The little girl asks where her father is going, and he promises that he will return home soon. Of course they are close acquaintances, but still it is very difficult to get into such places just like that without an invitation. The girl herself has already received an invitation, so they can go. The beauty recently walked through their garden and suddenly found something that she did not even expect to see, in which case the carriage will be ready for departure tomorrow. In any case, the maiden's father also had some business in the palace. He will go there too, but only in his own interests, which are also important. The man has already expressed himself clearly, and now it is only up to His Highness to think through in detail all the points of devotion of the Artan family. It's better not to get excited, but instead sit down at the negotiating table and discuss everything so that both are comfortable. The little lady will be in the heir's room for now. I can't believe that Louis himself will personally show the palace. The beauty cannot help but be happy that she can now do this without any problems. Sitting down with a curtsy, the heroine again thanks for the invitation that was sent. She was afraid that her friend would be busy, but no. The king smiles, realizing that he couldn't find a better person to play the role of his daughter-in-law. For the sake of this, it would not be a pity to lose limbs at the hands of a close friend who seems furious. At some point, reports of missing people began to arrive regularly from the western regions, and now the number is growing everywhere, which cannot but worry. In addition, a survivor from the Golden Tower recently appeared, which does not bode well. There is definitely some kind of danger threatening the country. If everything is that bad, Luo unfortunately will not be able to protect Avelia, who deserves to be completely fine. The thought sends chills down her spine. The butler runs into the room, trying to catch his breath. His Majesty must hurry to finish his business because he should get ready. The Emperor asked me to tell you that the Duke and his daughter had finally arrived at the castle. The man ordered the boy to accompany the lady throughout the territory. We have to hurry, but the blonde doesn't even resist. He abruptly puts all the papers aside, saying that his business for today will definitely be over. The blonde asks to clean the room while he is with his girlfriend. Previously, he forbade touching anything, but now this ban is lifted. The boy rushes forward along the corridor, hoping that he will be able to get there on time. No one knew that Ava would come so quickly, because this was not what was expected. If the baby is now walking alone somewhere in the palace, the young man must hurry so that she does not accidentally get lost in this area. Mom and Vivian constantly insisted that the palace is a very dangerous and treacherous place, which should not just be forgotten because it remains important. Virgo felt very constrained because of this. Even when she said an extra word, Father Louis seemed to treat the guests well, so most likely the worries were unnecessary. The Oberkammerger is very polite and speaks nicely. My mother said that this place is dangerous, but most likely nothing will even happen. In such a beautiful place, there is no chance that some villain will be waiting around the corner. Obviously, everyone can make mistakes because it happened. The servant bows almost at the man's feet, and this only makes her more scared because she did not expect to meet someone high-ranking. The girl has become the only shadow of the luminary of the empire. In front of the heroine stands the emperor's mistress herself, who does not radiate good emotions. The blonde curtsies in time and greets Her Majesty. Her name is Evelia Artina. She should have listened when her mother advised to be careful. It seems that the brunette is exactly the villain who threatens Louis as an heir, so I wouldn't want to meet her again even after everything that happened. Even if these are just words, there are special rules for the nobility to greet the empress. The woman does not like the fact that she is sometimes treated disrespectfully. Beauty, on the contrary, dares to lower her status as a shadow of the heavenly body and behaves so badly, although she tries to make everything better. The girl may still be a small child, but in her behavior, she is no different from an uncultured village woman. She recognized the queen, which means she is smart. The baby belongs to one of 3 noble families, so it's better not to start problems. Next time you need to add a title, the girl expresses her little protest. Mom has said more than once that this lady threatens the safety of the prince and wants to expel him from the palace, so there is no respect for such a person. The girl just arrived and now wants to look around bad luck, because the estate is so huge that she can't look around alone. Prince Edwin is with the girl. The woman smiles, saying that she hopes that they will get along while they are together. The boy is good-looking and is always the first in fencing, and he also has no end to fans. The Empress is clearly hinting at something. Soon my son will go on an inspection trip to the north, and this, I must say, is a unique opportunity that is certainly not given to everyone. The hero extends his hand, saying that he will show all the beauties of the palace. He tries to move on, but it seems that his charm does not work. Unlike Louis, this boy has 2 ominous and gloomy eyes which the baby does not like. She does not want to walk or play with him. In the middle, the heir appears, who arrived at the most opportune moment. He and the mistress had an appointment, which means Edwin had no right to stretch his little hands to her. Help, of course, has arrived, but now we will also have to deal with this problem, which is approaching like a storm out of a clear sky. If Her Highness manages to trap Louis, then he may be in a lot of trouble that she will create, or he will be in danger. The girl asks to take into account that she had to restrain herself in order to almost harm Edwin by pure accident. Spirits do not always obey the will of the beauty, so she is simply trying to warn. She really hopes that such antics on his part will never happen again. The woman shouts about the use of weapons, which is punishable by death. According to the article of the Emperor's Code, it seems that she correctly understood that the prince was threatening. Louis stands up for his friend. She is just a child who made a small water hazard. With all her desire, the beauty was physically unable to cause damage. The blonde can only do something terrible if she is truly threatened, but so far, nothing terrible has happened. It will be interesting to find out what will happen when the Duke himself, who loves his daughter more than anything in this world, finds out about the incident. Edwin should think soberly. If he apologizes now, then the lady will never remember this incident again. The hero is very sorry that he behaved wrongly. He could not control himself when he met such a beautiful lady. She had already agreed with a friend, so they will not spend time together. The Virgin hopes that they will be able to see each other under better circumstances, and then leaves, gritting her teeth. The boy calls his mother. The young man looked down on Eva, and therefore it seemed to him that he could easily fool her, for which he could apologize many more times. It's not Edwin's fault. If the baby stands behind the heir and refuses to play her role, drastic measures will have to be taken and taken away by force. Because of the big shots that she managed to meet in the corridor, the maiden couldn't even say hello to her friend normally. Finally, she can calmly explore the palace. The hero apologizes for not being able to influence their meeting, but in reality, he could not do anything that could help. If you go to the castle now, you might be able to lift your spirits. The sweets thief's house turned out to be huge, so there's a lot to see. The servant suggests looking around His Highness's office first. The man did this because he decided it was the best idea, but not because of the order. The boy's office is the height of perfection, so he is sure that the beauty will definitely like where it is. The Virgin does not mind going to that place, but first she is asked why she calls His Highness such a strange nickname. The butler is just curious to know what the reason is, only now comes the realization that the lady has done something, even though she had no intention of trying to do anything. It seems that there was no clause in their agreement that allowed him to call the guy that in front of everyone. And now in my head, I again have the picture of the dungeon into which he will be thrown. There were still some shortcomings in the excellent agreement that needed to be corrected, preferably immediately. The hero laughs, asking the real estate thief why she was so shrunken like a frightened puppy who was forced to remain silent. No matter what the lady calls the guy, the Oberkommissar will not say a single word. It's better to go have fun, because nothing will happen. The hero wants to show a lot of things. They have already built an approximate route of where they will go, so all that remains is to make a circle. The little girl goes inside the office. It turned out to be huge, and there are too many different books on the shelves. Mostly the hero is engaged in government affairs. The guy's place is too clean, which makes the girl wilt because she has toys everywhere. She doesn't know that a few minutes ago there were various sheets of paper and books lying around. It's better to leave quickly so that Eva doesn't notice some flaw that might not lead to the best ending. they can go somewhere else. The palace is still full of places that the beauty has not seen before. There is one special place that I want to show right away as quickly as possible. The blonde went to the fencing training ground. She had never been able to handle a sword, so there was no hope. Then the couple went to the table for lunch. Her cheeks still hurt, because in an attempt to examine the palace from below, she stuck her head between the railings, which of course is offensive. Until this day, no one had thought about the problems of this, but it seems that no problems with this have ever arisen before. Be that as it may, everything ended more than well, so you can exhale calmly. The girl holds out a plate for some kind of steak to be put on it. The heroine loves the smell of flowers, which usually came from Louis. But now there is a flower in this greenhouse called dicentra, and it is truly wonderful. If suddenly a friend wants, they can always give her at least a few pieces from the garden. She shakes her head negatively, refusing this. While they were discussing other things, the boy managed to evenly cut the steak placed on the plate. The little girl smiles and thanks. Virgo nods her head, but then switches to another topic. She has long wanted to know why it was so necessary to constantly steal food from her. The hero understands that there was a piece on the fork. He just wanted to check whether the cooked food was poisoned, but saying this out loud would be unacceptable. The man didn't want to lose his precious friend again. He wouldn't be able to talk about his past either, so jokes were used again. Only a small piece was taken from the plate, so the girl should still be grateful that she was left with a large portion as a guest. As soon as the meal is finished, the hero is going to take the beauty to an interesting place that awaits them. The hero put the most effort into the place in the forest because he knew for sure that the girl would like it. There are a lot of deer in the clearing. They have long been accustomed to people. The beauty wastes no time and quickly runs to greet the kids. She hugs one of them, pressing her harder and rejoicing at how everything turned out. The servant standing behind agrees that the view is truly breathtaking, both about nature and about Mrs. Artina, who is standing next to him. The girl hears some strange sounds from the bushes. Almost immediately, she calls on Ondine in order to discover what is there. No danger has arisen or threatens because something else is involved here. The spirit simply has to help without protection, which is not needed yet. Unlike the benefactor, the two girls are of absolutely no value, so there is no point in talking about it. The girl has no idea what she should have said, but instead, she interferes where she doesn't need to. The beauty smiles, badly showing with her whole body that she doesn't care. The heroine considers herself the top of the whole world and the greatest beast, so some person cannot just scare her with his horror stories. The baby herself doesn't really know how to fly yet, but she's already behaving in such a way that she can teach others he's behaving inappropriately. The fox runs away to his owner, who gives the demon a skeptical look. She is asked not to hug the animals or touch them again. This dragon turned out to be a boy, not a girl for her. He is still dear, so there is no point in even thinking about anything. Such stupidity is worthless. To grow big and strong, the baby should eat right. With these words, the blonde holds out something prepared for breakfast. While the beast is being fed, the friends stand with a terrible expression on their faces. If this continues, then this bastard will get all the best. It is because of the prince that the animal is here, so he has to solve the problem. He has already taken his place in Eva's heart, so it won't be possible to simply remove him. The hero approaches his friend to warn her that if the dragon cubs are given meat just like that, they may have indigestion, which already threatens to take longer. This baby cannot consider himself inviolable just because of his person. It will be better to feed him meat later, but for now, they can cope on their own. It doesn't matter who or what this person is. At a young age, you definitely need to drink milk so that the body is strong and healthy. You can't cope without it. If he were a thrice dragon, you must follow the rules. You will have to finish eating for him together. So the boy is going to start eating right away. Taking advantage of supposedly childhood memories, they ate all the meat, while the new animal ate the milk, which had long been prepared. As a result, the couple got into a fight because the demon would not give up the meat, turning back into a human. The young man began to demand more food. In order for everything to go smoothly further, the boy decided to make a puppy look and asked that now he could call Ava his sister. Endil was allowed literally everything, and the blonde immediately decided to find more meat and feed the baby to his fill. The lady simply took the beast to her home. As if it were not a problem, the god of water personally presented such a brother, so you can say goodbye forever to all the ridiculous prohibitions of your parents. Upon entering the estate, the guy of course was interrogated, which he did not like at all, given the current situation from which it would be extremely difficult to get out. The Duke realized that the daughter could only determine by energy alone that this boy was exactly the animal that she then picked up and brought into the house. Still, it is worth understanding that it is even more dangerous to allow an unknown creature into the castle which can also take on a human form without problems. Probably the father misunderstood, but the girl talked about the dragons that were in the books. Everything fell into place very quickly. In addition, the young man did not hear that now his new friend has become a brother. No ruler is afraid of him. It will be extremely difficult to explain to Ava that all this is nonsense. Dragons died out many years ago, so she cannot be sure who is standing in front of her. Agares has been living in the world for a very long time, so it is logical that he could not be mistaken when he told the truth. The Duke doesn't know why his daughter brought this to their house, but it seems his wife feels differently about it. He's still just a child, so she asks him to come closer. Alicia could not even imagine that the frightened animal that Avelia brought with her would turn out to be such a cute boy in reality. This man, together with his sister, cared about the well-being even when he was first brought into the house. Now there is no reason not to trust. Whatever the woman asks, he promises to tell everything to the last detail, but can no longer tell where exactly he came from. It is not appropriate to speak in a low tone with a child, and therefore the girl pulls her husband back, who again begins to suspect something interfering in the conversation. The young man does not remember at all where he was born, or where he ultimately came from. I only remember that there was a lot of things there, but in his way, he was the only one. Sometimes some very strange people came to the boy. Sometimes they brought food, but for the most part they forced him to do different things. It was painful and difficult, but there was nowhere to run at some point. He suddenly discovered that a lot of power had accumulated, and then using it he managed to escape. If the kid really managed to escape from these people using only his power, then it must certainly be connected with magic. If you use force without precise coordinates, the body can be torn into pieces. Even if it was given intuitively, you still had to decide on such a reckless act. After completing his speech as an answer, the young man thanks his sister not only for finding curing and feeding her, but also for her beautiful name. Previously, the lands were filled with all sorts of villains and gangs of robbers. Therefore, even during military skirmishes, considerable efforts were made to eradicate them forever. There are still many robber groups there that cause trouble for ordinary people, and unfortunately, it is not yet possible to get rid of them. Unfortunately, the past can very easily repeat itself, and in this case, nothing will work out exactly as planned. Alicia shows her other side, saying that in this case, it was necessary to kill everyone so that no one would be left alive for further destruction. Darling should take up his sword right now and immediately recover to do his duty. Perhaps the lady is going too far a little. It is still not clear what to do to ensure that everything is normal in the future. We are talking about a dragon, but for now, this is one of the most important problems. The Duchess herself, no matter how much she loves the baby, must understand that something like this could be dangerous for their daughter, so they should protect her. Avelia has many friends and a father and mother. So instead of blindly believing that nothing bad will happen, it is better to make every effort to make her become a strong and independent person. The cold winter has come. The snow flies like snowflakes on the ground, forming a white blanket. Endel and the Duchess sat together at home until the weather gets better. The boy changed a little and became more handsome and smart every day. A new member appeared in the family who was trying to fit in. Although Dad said that for now, it will be for a while. But there is no way in the world that Ava can be forced to leave her brother. Someday, everyone in the area will definitely love the baby, and there is no doubt about it. He gradually began to call Cedric and Arkin brothers. They play all day long and try to have fun as best they can, while no one forbids them to do their favorite things every day. They have to choose something new. The maiden found something she had said before, that there was a treasure in their house that no one even knew about, and that was yet to be discovered. This time, we also managed to find something more interesting. Apparently, the father received an invitation from another country, but hid it from prying eyes. Now the couple will not need any treasures, because they may well choose some other, more important goal that will suit them. You can ask the Duke if he will allow you to go with him to another country, where you can have a lot of fun. The man's answer was surprising because he said no. Eva knows that for her sake he is ready to rob the entire continent and bring it to his feet. But he won't be able to take it with him on a trip. Firstly, the power of Artan, and even the empire no longer extends in those lands. And secondly, this is an official visit as part of a delegation, so it will not be possible to take the knights either. The blonde will go there as a representative of the empire. Something bad cannot be allowed to happen on the streets of that country. I wouldn't want it to Ava met people who hate those who came from the West. It is impossible for something terrible to happen like last time. Even if this is a diplomatic mission, Hugo certainly doesn't care if he has to. He will kill every single one just to ensure his daughter's safety. The heart bleeds that the desire cannot be fulfilled. Arkan had to tell how many powerful and terrible people there are in the East who need to be feared. My brother said that it was full of huge animals that could swallow the baby whole in one fell swoop. It's clear that she knows everything well. It is because of everything that is happening in that country that the girl must understand her father, who does not dare to take his precious daughter to such a terrible and dangerous place. The blonde was so excited that she was about to go to a previously unexplored corner of the world. But in the end, everything turned out to be completely different from her dreams. The baby sighs she would really like to visit that place before she leaves this mortal world. The voice of Agares is heard, who noted that it is too early to talk about this. The Duke's direct responsibility is to help his precious daughter understand this world as best as possible. The Duke tries to restrain himself, even though this demon has come to annoy him again. We must later reprimand the knights for not properly monitoring the entrance to the castle. If you enter from the back entrance, it will be impossible to do anything here. If the demon came just to shake the air, then it's better to leave. He has no one to protect Eva, so he won't be able to take her with him. In any case, there remains one more option. This is a well-known man who stands in front of them. He hopes for Artan's assistance. They will go to Carbant. There is an acquaintance there who owes a debt to the guy, so in addition to this they will be able to tell more about how everything works there. Some strange characters hover around Hugo's daughter, because each time you have to be more and more surprised. But if this makes the girl happy, then everything is in order. Between Arcadia in the west and Harvent in the east, there are gates that distort space itself and thereby connect the entire vast continent together. The device is extremely convenient, since it also involves a lot of supernatural power. For matters of national security, they are located far from the capital, which is why different delegations have to ride on horseback for a long time, which is by no means an easy matter. Since the Virgin's mother would be leaving later, she packed her own suitcase. Ondine decided to help and make sure everything was a little better than it seemed. The little girl also asked to take a strange red book with her, so you can't forget about this. This is the history of the Carvent Empire to which they are going. The blonde is not obliged to carry all sorts of rubbish with her. If she is interested in something in the story, she can always ask for all the details. On the last night, the friends had a lot of fun because they all studied the publication together. Meanwhile, at the estate, things were a little different. If a boy is going to go, then it is better to hide his wings and not turn into a human, since everyone there is not so patient with other races. Before parting, the three children exchange final words of farewell. If anyone tries to do something to Ava, his brother needs to always be on guard. Endel shakes hands with Arkan, promising that he will not allow anything bad to happen. He will take care of the one who saved him and showed him a different real life. The last farewell came, or the day when the delegation set off on a long journey. Everyone gathered to set sail. Eternal peace and cultural exchange between Arcadia and Harvent lie in the hands of those who go there, and for now that is all that needs to be remembered. Everyone must certainly return safe and sound, followed by cries for the glory of the Empire, which are one of the most important elements every time. A delegation of about 20 people and a dragon set out, and for 4 days they traveled along the road through bandits and forests. I can't believe that I finally managed to arrive at the place. The journey somehow went smoothly, but this does not mean that no further problems follow. It was fun to play with the baby in the hut, but no matter what anyone said, it seemed to the guy that keeping an eye on the child would be a trifle, so he volunteered. Of course, the beauty was a very desirable child, who was literally different from the rest, but this did not mean that she had the right to behave as she wanted. The blonde points somewhere ahead again, distracting the young man, because she doesn't believe that that pig in front cannot be roasted and eaten. The creature turned out to be a monster. Not a simple beast. As soon as they arrive at the place, everything can be fixed. But for now, other matters are much more important. For the sake of the country, the delegation arrived in this place and now must make sure that they are loved here. One of the men greets those who have arrived immediately at the entrance. The Duke bows because this is a great honor for him, but still asks one of the assistants to first clarify whether it is possible to use the gate. The host did not know exactly when the guests would arrive, so to be on the safe side, they prepared everything in advance, knowing that it would be easier. Hugo calls his daughter to his horse. If she is afraid to cross the gate, she can always snuggle closer to him and thus be safe. It seemed to the girl that they would walk along a long corridor, but in the end, they stepped into a luminous and transparent void that sucked everyone in together. It's beautiful all around, and there are a lot of people, as if everyone came out onto the streets on this very day, on purpose. The heroine feels as if she has found herself in an unusual world, even though this is the east of the country. Everything here is very different from the usual Arcadia, but the lady is glad that they still ended up in this place, because she dreamed about it from the very beginning of the trip. Surely the delegation was very tired while traveling this way. The Knights of Harvant should pick them up before tomorrow to go to the palace. The brunette who meets them will do everything to make the guests comfortable. He will take the arrivals to their vacation spot and introduce them to the sights that their daughter might like. The Duke reminds that in their empire the girl became a princess, so she must be treated with special respect. The demon looks at the alley in the distance. He promises that he will return soon, and while he is gone, his girlfriend can stay with Hugo. The young man had previously said that he needed to visit a guy who owed him money, but in addition to all this, he needed to deal with 2 more scoundrels. Whoever sent these mercenaries to the baby, the most important thing is that the beauty can be protected, so that nothing prevents her from enjoying her journey. A window in the ceiling opens, and then a voice greets a beautiful woman who is the Empress of the Empire named Sophilia. The time had come to pay the bills. It seemed to the girl that the demon was sitting as a recluse somewhere in his underworld, but this time he showed up. Of course, the heroine did not forget that it was thanks to him that she managed to stop the war and thereby save the country from the inevitable death that awaited it. The favor of Agares has its value. So the lady waits until she is told what he wants. She is ready to give anything except her life and the safety of the empire. The hero needs the warmest welcome he needs to prepare the most delicious food and get the most wonderful animals that live in the east. The people from the Arcadia delegation deserve the best, and to be more precise, this is all for the girl from the group that arrived. Whatever the young man demanded as payment, the woman was ready to give everything she had. Everything she needed turned out to be a small problem. As it turned out, the hero himself is a member of the delegation, so if he feels that the reception is not up to par, he will return again, and the price will be his life. The demon that left the woman's office at night was not even close to that emotionless animal from the past, who did not care about anyone around him. I even became curious what kind of girl this was who tamed the gentleman. The brunette had already managed to return back to the place where they stopped. The woman could not even think that this person would turn out to be the daughter of that duke who arrived from a neighboring empire to clarify the circumstances. The heroine smiles. She remembers how long ago they were brothers in arms, and it's even nice to think about it. Hugo still hasn't decided to visit the queen. She is sure that her daughter and wife will certainly like the local landscapes. It's a pity that in the end the treatment was exactly this, because the beauty could have made the blonde her age-old subject, and for this, it was not even necessary to conquer anyone. If we are to play our cards, then only the best ones. Not only a powerful warrior and a duke have arrived, but also someone else. The delegation included a demon, and at the same time one of the higher beings, as well as some strange creature that looked like a dog. Now it is quite obvious whose heart needs to be won. It is not so easy to think about what to do next. The mistress is met by a maid who promises to serve while the maiden is in the empire. Her name is Beta Carielli. The Empress personally asked to hand over the crossing stone. No matter where the lady is, she can always be transported to Harvant at her request. The woman is going to help change clothes to make it easier to enjoy the wonderful land. The clothes must certainly be liked. The outfits in the country are truly a sight to behold. A lot depends on who exactly is wearing them. In the evening, the lady awaits a personal audience with Her Majesty. At that very moment, in the middle of a conversation, Agares enters the room. The blonde, along with her retinue, decides to look around the castle. She reveals the map, thinking about where she should go this time. The woman wants to get into a garden that would fully suit the queen's tastes with this stone. She can go anywhere, so there is nothing to wait for. It seems that in that place it will be even more beautiful than even in the forest. The word beautiful is not entirely applicable to what you will see. The girl is just the kind of person who likes all sorts of nasty things. The couple moves towards the long stairs. That same garden turned out to be more than wonderful. The place is very similar to a secret hideout, so the Duchess can't wait to get there. Since everything will really be fine, then holding out his hand, the demon offers to go inside to look around. The hand falls on the bushes to remove them. The man believes that the worthless Arcadians dared to invade these lands. The girl will never forgive a bad attitude. She turns to her sister, hoping that she is already ready for action. Jumping out of the bushes, the woman scares the animal and screams at the couple, asking why they snuck in here. Only members of the imperial family are allowed to enter this garden in front of them. Stan's crown princess is shot, and Prince Daniel, who is hiding behind him. The girl was about to go forward to express even more, but the brother grabbed her hand and began to scream. Daniel, who turned out to be sharp-sighted, noticed that the lady had a crossing stone in her hands, which already meant a lot. The Empress herself presented the gift. The couple sincerely apologized for the fact that they behaved inappropriately, drawing premature conclusions. Judging by the arrogant nature and outfits, these are the children of the queen, but the demon does not know whether they should get away with such behavior. The elder sister points to the boy, saying that he is the younger brother, and she herself is the crown princess of Harvant. Daniel is a little shy, but this is not a problem, because he will become more relaxed. Evelia introduces herself as Arcadia's delegate. The woman freezes, but then admits that she imagined someone like that in a completely different way. So now she doesn't know what to say to it. It seemed that power was as high as skills, and arrogance had no limits, but in reality, everything turned out to be completely different. The couple laughs. Although, in fact, they are discussing something important. The boy almost cries, trying to call his sister. Daniel freezes and, without moving, says that there is a huge snake behind him that is going to eat him. A child's cry can be heard in the garden. More than anything else, Harvant hates snakes, so he quickly tries to drive it away. The kid lowers his head because he didn't think that so many people would be afraid of him. In fact, he's harmless. Evelia grabs onto the snake, which was about to run away. It tastes good and is also quite good for the body. After the baby caught the mammal, everything changed very much in just a few seconds. The heirs of the empire, who were so pretentious and arrogant, suddenly wanted to do more than just make friends with the little girl. The princess's younger brother quietly mumbled something about wanting to make a woman his wife and said that he really wanted this. The demon picked up his friend in his arms, saying that they couldn't allow something like this to happen. She quickly agreed, since she didn't like this either. The brunette bursts into the room where the Duke is sitting, where they were going to arrive a little later. They had to escape immediately. Hugo raised his eyebrow in a questioning gesture, since they agreed to meet later, but in the end the demon also talked some nonsense. The girl obviously had picked up all sorts of nonsense from other people, so she behaved so stupidly. It wouldn't hurt to take a look at what your daughter is holding in her hands, because it's not normal to bring a snake with you to this place. They went to lunch. The Empress is sorry, but she has never had the opportunity to see a man with her daughter, so she would like to be together. The Duke of Stein was present at this dinner, as was Sylvia Stein, who struck up a conversation together.